Mario Lima.
Dylan Titus.
How you doing?
Not too bad. How about you?
Pretty good.
Good. Welcome to another episode of Connery Curious, the podcast.
Hey!
Those pair of podcasts is on postage.
When it comes to pairs of podcasters, there can be only one.
Connery Curious. Saga. Last Crusade. You'll live twice. And the Anderson tapes. Murder on the Orient Express. You never know what the wheel's gonna spin next. Marty and a woman of straw. And a murder man in Africa. We are curious of the filmography of Sir Sean Connery.
Who's in my house and I got gambler debts and the song is on the radio because everything sucks.
Yeah.
Ow!
Is that like a Jon Snow cape?
No, it's a Highlander cape.
Actually, is that Highlander on it?
No.
It looks like a Jon Snow cape.
I'll
It just,
say,
it
yeah.
just says
like
like,
in terms
never
of
say
something
the
that
it
would
says
be
like
at
Viking cloak or something like that.
Viking
They never
cloak.
say the actual character.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't.
Oh, yeah.
But you can say, Hawk to a girl.
Yeah, Hawk to a girl.
Yeah, she has a whole section.
Did I
for
send you
Halloween.
that
You gotta
picture?
be kidding me.
She
For
does.
real?
She has like a deal with them, I think.
I walked in today to get this shit for my beard, and I walk in, and there's like a whole section that's Hawk Tua.
And
I'm
it's,
like, no
it's
shit.
fucking Michael Myers jumpsuits with the
Yeah.
logo on it.
This
Yeah.
is so silly.
It's insane.
Well, hey,
Every day
get
I'm
that
like,
money
man.
while you can.
Exactly. Well, she'll be just
She
fine.
has the number 3 podcast in the.
She's a podcast now. She's she has
behind
merch.
behind a Russian plant and a
Rogan,
conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you know,
Hey, if that's all it takes to make it, it's just as easy for any of us.
All right. Well,
I'm
looks
waiting
like
for my viral clip. It's gonna get
we're gonna
there
have to
eventually.
spread
We're gonna
some
make it
conspiracy
right
theories
now.
while hawking on some cocking.
Yeah, cocking.
Welcome to Hawkin' Cockin'.
Cocking curious.
Hawking cocking curious.
Cocking curious.
Welcome to Hawkin' Cockin' Curious.
Cocking.
This is gonna be great.
Did you guys like how I put eyes on the?
I do like
Yeah,
that. It's
very
like it's watching us.
Should put another one over here.
Very
Do it in
spooky.
post.
It's very spooky.
Just blinks every once in a while. You should make our heads bounce around the screen for the inside.
Well, then we'll take some pictures in front of the green screen before you go.
Yeah. It's like in Twin Peaks, when you should remove the piece of wood from the back and she'd look through to spy on her dad. Remember, like
Oh,
the eye-
yeah.
Oh yeah. Like Scooby Doo.
yeah, like exactly.
All right.
Alrighty.
I'm ready.
Mario Lima,
Dylan Titus.
how you doing today?
I'm doing okay. I'm feeling very grandpa-ish today.
Well, why is that?
That's cool. Well, I'm rocking my Connery costume today.
Our
This is
Halloween costumes?
This is the highest rated Connery on the show.
It is. Holy
the-
cow.
it's the
And
10.1.
this is one of my highest rated ones. Happy Halloween, folks.
Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Camera. Okay. Happy Halloween. For those of you out there that celebrate Halloween. I know that the Jackson family, whatever religion they are, they don't
Very
celebrate.
against
With Jehovah's
Halloween.
Witness, right?
Jehovah's Witness. Yeah.
Shall we introduce our
Yes, let's
guest?
introduce our guests.
It's our
Welcome back to Connery Curious, both of you.
Yeah,
Thank
two
you.
returning
Yeah, what's
guests.
A
I'm
long
Mario
time-
Lima.
I'm Dylan Titus.
And yeah.
Wait a second, I thought we sorted this out one montage ago.
God damn
Yes.
it.
One opening credit sequence ago. There we go.
I'm just bringing chaos to this, which is exactly the energy that this movie brought.
You're a real
Yes.
Joker folia do here, huh?
Something
Ew.
like that. Yeah.
Well, welcome back
More
to
like Foley a poo, am I right?
I haven't seen it.
Me either, but I'm
Spicy
like,
takes.
I don't know if I'm going to spend money to go see it.
No.
I don't. Yeah, I will not be.
It rated lower than Madam Web.
Oh,
Really?
Jesus.
That
Jesus.
is rough.
I went to go look at that. I'm like, no way. And I went to go look it up. I guess it rated a little lower than Madam Web. Like,
That's
by a little
wild.
bit. But still,
Just enough.
That's-
I mean, but that's impressively low. 'cause,
coming
I mean,
off a $1 billion film. Like,
Yeah,
I know we
that's-
were, like, you know, I've talked about it
You
really
can't hold it to that as a measure
But
of
like,
standard.
yeah, because I mean, they were like, "Oh, it made $1 billion. We got to make another one." And I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "It'll probably be decent. There's music in. I'm sure I'll
Yeah,
like it."
everybody
But-
thought that about season 8 of Game of Thrones too.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Look how that happened.
And look what happened. So
Well,
I don't know.
we're going to talk more about disappointing movies.
disappointing sequels.
Yes. So
Yeah.
at first, let's introduce our guests. We've got a longtime returning guest and a
Recent.
recent returning guest. The first time this has ever happened where a guest has been on the podcast, and they go, "Yeah, I'd be on that movie," and then
And
they spin the
and
wheel,
spun
and
the wheel and
there it
got his
is.
movie.
It was serendipity.
Indeed, and it was happened to be the one that your bandmate is on.
Absolutely.
Welcome back, Sean Murphy and Aaron Frank,
Thank
to Connery Curious.
Guests.
No, to Connery Curious.
Oh, the podcast where me, myself,
And
and
Irene.
Dylan Titus review every single film in the massive filmography of the late, great Sir Sean Connery, which I want to talk about for a second.
Yes.
This being our Halloween episode, Halloween coming up is the 4th anniversary of his death.
Wow.
He died
He
Yeah.
died on Halloween?
on Halloween 2020.
I still don't feel like it was 4 years ago.
And-
I feel like it was 4 months ago. you
Right?
know?
It was a very sad Halloween. 'Cause I remember hearing it. Do you remember where you were when you found out? Sean
Yes,
Connery
I
died?
know.
Halloween 2020.
Tammy LaForest texted me and said Sean Connery died.
I was
That
probably
was
in my
it.
house
No
doing
hello.
No, hello.
Literally, was just that. It was literally.
nothing. Sean Connery
Did she
died.
do it to ruin your day? Was it like?
Oh my goodness.
Well, it was 2020, I guess, right?
Yeah.
In the midst of COVID.
Yeah, so it was COVID Halloween. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm trying to think what
Yeah.
happened. I was definitely I wasn't going out. I think I was streaming at the time. I still am now, but like I think someone told me in chat like, "Oh, dude, Sean Connery." No, he didn't.
Yeah.
I looked it up, and sure enough, there he is. And I cried and watched. I think I watched Indiana Jones that night, and some Bond movies just to mourn his death.
I definitely
That's a
threw
big
on a
one.
Bond score because I think I had work that day or something. So I threw on a
You
Bond
should have left
score.
work. So I got to go home. Like, I had someone die in the family. In the family?
In the
No,
family.
Sean Connery died. I got to go
No
home.
word of a lie. Well, I was working at a music store when Michael Jackson died, and somebody really did go home. Like, we all came in the morning, and somebody was like, "Oh, did you guys hear Michael Jackson died?" And like an hour later, somebody was so distraught they had to go home.
Jeez.
I was not.
I mean, that makes sense, to be honest,
Yeah.
given that it'd probably be a musician that was
Probably.
heavily influenced by them working
Yeah.
in that store.
I can
for
see
sure.
that. I can see that.
But I don't know. Like, is it acceptable to take the day off work if your favorite celebrity dies? I think it should
I
be.
would say yes. You should be able to take a day off of work if you have time off for any reason you want. At
Thank
any
you.
point in time.
Thank
without
you.
anyone asking you or giving you their opinion about it in any way, shape, or form.
As far as my employer is concerned, I hold that view. I'm just wondering if socially is acceptable.
Socially? Yeah, I don't care. Take your day off,
Yeah.
bro.
As far as
Yeah,
my employer
I
is
wouldn't judge
concerned,
you.
I'm letting you know I'm not going to be here that day. It's not like a request.
Like, I say it now, like, when I hear that Paul McCartney has passed away, I will be sad initially, but then later in that day, I guarantee it will hit me like a
Yeah.
freight
Ton
train.
of bricks.
There's
Yeah.
definitely a few people like that I can see. Paul McCartney's definitely on
Yeah.
the list.
If you think about like all songs that have ever been number one, like Paul McCartney has to be on like a huge percentage of those songs.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
He and Drake.
And Drake, of course. Yeah.
I'll be like that when the guy from Scarface got killed in the shower with the chainsaw. That dude dies. I'm gonna be pretty sad, probably.
The one whose name you can't remember?
Yes. Well, I only say that because he got booked at RI Comic Con this year. They announced it today, like big announcement week, and he was one of them.
And they literally don't list his name. It's just that description.
That guy. So I'm looking at him like, I'm looking at the guy. I'm like, what's he from? And like they said Scarface. I'm like, what are you doing, Scarface? And I looked it up. I'm like, that's the fucking dude. He died like in the beginning of the movie,
Yeah.
and he's got a table at RI Comic Con. Like,
Hey, I can imagine
wonderful.
that Star Wars as a franchise is just a gold mine
Oh, I
of
can
career
imagine.
opportunities for Comic Cons.
Oh,
Of like,
absolutely.
oh,
for sure.
I was in Star Wars for 32 seconds in the background, and you bought my action figure.
yeah, there's a girl that I forgot the Jedi's name. She had a big role in the cartoons, but in the movie, she was a background character. I think in episode 2, the worst one of that trilogy. And
I disagree.
you like episode 2?
Oh, well, actually, you know what? When you think about it, it's the worst one.
Of that
But,
trilogy,
but
yeah.
honestly, reevaluating too, especially when you take into mind the deleted scenes and which add to what George Lucas's intent was, there's a really, really strong political film that
Yeah.
like feels like it if it were to take place in modern day America, it would be in like 2014,
Yeah.
2015.
It's amazing how deleted scenes can manipulate a film, huh?
Exactly.
Guys?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Should we get to it?
Yeah, enough Star Wars
All right.
talk.
Well,
Let's talk about
let's get
this
into
shit.
our costumes because that will lead into the movie.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Mario, why don't you tell the audience who you're dressed as? I think it's
Sherman Klump from No Professor. When I put it on without the hat, I was laughing in the mirror because I'm like, I kind of like Sherman Klump right now.
That's wonderful.
But no, I'm of course Henry Jones Sr. from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. My favorite Indiana Jones movie.
Indiana was the dog's name.
Junior. I was saying in the mirror all day, Junior. Junior.
That
Junior.
trilogy was like one of my favorite like sets of movies. as a
Fucking
kid.
so
bastard. I'm so excited. The game is coming out this
Yeah.
December.
Oh.
I'm so excited for it. Bethesda's making it, and it's like
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
it's like first person and stuff. It's
Very
gonna be cool. So yeah, I got my Indiana Jones gear on, and this is the only. I think this is the only Connery character I could really portray. I think.
you pull it off flawlessly,
Like, you know, just with the glasses. I didn't get the right glasses, but the beard and everything.
You got the vibe.
and the hat works on
It
you.
was either that. It was either that or Zardoz. I was gonna wear the
Yeah, I'll
red-
tell you right now, Mark. If I rolled up and you were rocking the Zardoz outfit,
Rocking the Zardoz.
I thought about it, but my red loincloth was in the wash.
we might not be able to have this podcast because I'd just be dying.
Oh yeah, that got me my
still
legs
imagine.
crossed like
Oh,
this,
yeah.
wearing the Zardoz one piece.
The leather on the leather chair might get
Oh my god, the
uncomfortable.
sweat factor. Poor Sean having to sit next to me the whole time, squeaking around with all the sweat on the leather couch.
Yeah, like I also ate a burrito beforehand.
But yeah,
And
what's your costume?
yeah, my costume is I'm Connor MacLeod from the Clan MacLeod.
Ooh.
Still haven't figured out what his accent's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's a French guy doing a
Is
Scottish.
it
Yeah.
French?
Yeah,
He's a French
Lambert.
guy
Yeah.
doing a Scottish accent on a film made in Argentina.
Yes.
That's his real voice, right?
Yes.
Every time I hear him, man, I'm like, this gotta be some other dude. Like his voice does not match his face. in
His
my
accent,
opinion.
whatever the accent is 100% more bearable in the second film than it is in the first film.
Really?
I thought it was
Way,
much
Jinx.
worse. I thought it hit way harder.
I thought-
His old man voice in the beginning. Her.
I fucking hate that. That shit drove me crazy.
There are some people in this world who know when to stop, and some people who don't. Which kind are you?
Before I talk about it real quick,
Yeah.
today we are covering
Yes. Sorry, I'm just muting my phone there.
technically 2 movies today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wow, this is a first.
I imagine we're going to talk a lot about Highlander 1 as well, too.
comparison.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's going to kind of be a 3-movie special.
Yeah.
It really is.
So, all right, yeah. So we're talking about Highlander 2: The Quickening,
And Highlander 2, the Rebel cut,
the Renegade.
the
cut.
Renegade cut, which we'll talk about later which one we liked better because I feel like there was one point, right, where I got halfway through the Renegade cut and I said, you know what I'm going to fucking do? I put both movies on at the same time.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
What are you, a psycho?
On both screens to see when shit would change. 'Cause
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, as I'm watching,
You mean
the-
instantly?
As I'm
Yeah,
watching the second cut, I'm like, all right, some of this is pretty much the same. Like the beginning of the both opening acts are very different, but like there's different stuff with like I got pissed off when certain music wasn't in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's one scene like we'll talk about later, the car scene.
Yeah.
There's a way,
Oh, yes.
a way funkier riff
Oh, yeah,
in
yeah.
Oh, my
when
God.
the
they're,
original.
when they're driving through the
the
getting
parking
shot up.
garage and they're getting shot.
Yeah.
It's like
my favorite scene in the movie, by the way.
Oh fuck yeah! I was fucking dope. But like in the other cut, it's like really low, and it sounds like Sammy Hagar. I don't even know what the song was.
Dude, there's some absolute gems of funny like radio background songs
Oh,
in
yeah.
this. Like at one point, it's just like lost my house, got gambling debts. like it's what Sean and I would like sit and make fun of and like make
Yes.
some random lyrics. Like we've spent so many hours sitting together being like walking the dog, going down to the store. Like it's just when you throw like random like nonsense lyrics
Yeah,
onto
you
a
just
song
need
that you're
something
working
for an
on
idea.
to like just have the melody there. It sounds like that's what they're doing, but they're like stuck under the shield. I'm gonna lose everything.
In general, I mean, my big takeaway from this film is that and I kind of feel like this about Highlander 1 as well too. Like someone had some good ideas for a comedy movie and some good ideas for an action/sci-fi movie and no concept of a plot at all, and just kind of put it together enough that they could have a movie. Because like
Use it for two.
for both of them, in all honesty, like I think
one is a great concept that's pretty tight.
One is a better movie for sure.
Yes.
I think some of the non-linear aspects of it don't benefit it as much as I think that it could be. I didn't love any of the movies, in all honesty.
I'm kind of with you on that. I do think the original was much more well put together, but I still don't think it was like a slam dunk.
And I think a huge part of that for me personally comes from looking at things under a lens of seeing a lot of movies throughout the course of my lifetime, which predates it comes after the release of Highlander 1 by so when it came out, 86?
Yeah.
So they came out 5 years before I was born. So like there are points in Highlander 1 that are like almost just straight up B movie stuff by today's standard. And then there's parts in Highlander 2 that are actually legitimately straight up B movie stuff.
Especially the effects.
Yeah.
Like the practical effects.
Some of the practical effects in these movies are incredible, and some of them are like, okay, like this is like becoming straight up B movie.
There's parts where
territory.
you can see the wires of like people hanging, and like the super slow-mo like guy flying into the electrical box as if he's like gently being placed there, it takes away from the action a lot of times.
Forgive me, I'm just pulling up our scores here.
Yeah,
to see because
So I just listened to your episode on Highlander 1 because I was like, I wonder what they thought of it, and you guys loved it. You guys had pretty high ratings across the board for it, from my memory.
ratings.
I thought it had its moments. Like there was a
It's
lot of
not a
Highlander
bad
1 I
movie.
liked.
I would rate Highlander 1 better than Highlander 2 by a lot, which we'll get to. But
Forgive me, it took a second to pull up. Let me go over our rankings for Highlander 1 because we really liked it. I loved Highlander. I thought it was a pretty tight movie.
It's a well-respected movie, apparently, because like I was talking about it when I was streaming the other day. I was like, someone asked about the podcast. I'm like, oh yeah, we're doing Highlander 2 very soon, and I had 3 people like, oh, I love Highlander 1, man. What a great movie. Talking about, what's his name? Who's the villain?
The Kurgan.
Kurgan.
Clancy Brown.
Yeah,
Love Clancy
he's incredible.
Brown.
He was very good.
He's the best character in the first one.
Yeah. So
or maybe Connery. But one of the two.
great too, yeah.
One of the two of them. And what I will say is that the two of them lift the movie so significantly when they're on screen.
Yeah.
When they're not on screen, it really affected the movie for me. Like the biggest problem I had with Highlander 1 across the board is that I just didn't care about Connor McLeod at all. Like I was not invested in his story in any way, shape, or form. I was like completely indifferent to him. Like he just has a serial killer face the entire movie. So it makes it really hard for me to feel any level of investment.
he is very unpleasing to look at, for sure.
Well, but he also like
his
one thing I'll
forehead
say
is a sniper's wet dream.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but like maybe this is meant to be part of the characterization of the character, but like I just didn't feel like there's a like, why am I rooting for you to be the one that succeeds?
I see what you mean. Cause
like if I was going to root for any of these characters, it would have been Connery, but he died.
Yeah.
So, like,
well, yeah.
Like you're the better of the evils that's presented to me. I guess.
Yeah, it's true. He's not super charismatic, but I feel like he's more charismatic in the first one than he is in the
Really,
second.
I actually thought the opposite. I thought he was like way more charismatic in the second one. I just thought the story of the second one sucked.
Okay. All right, let me go over the rating of the first one.
Sorry.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I keep getting distracted. So for SH, we both gave it a 10.
Yes.
He's got a thick SH.
There's a strong
in that.
one.
Yes.
Sexy rating. You gave it an 8. I gave it a 9. I think it's a pretty sexy film.
I agree.
Sexy film.
Yeah.
Musical score. You gave it a 9. I gave it a 9.5. Queen does the
with
score.
the Queen tracks. Come on.
That's amazing. And then, sadly, Freddie Mercury died in 91, which was the same year that Highlander 2 came out. And they had Stuart Copeland do the score.
Yeah, we'll get into that, too. They do feature a Queen song, though.
Yes.
And, yeah, they lean pretty heavily on Who Wants to Live Forever.
Yeah.
You gave it an 8. I gave it a 9 when it came to the film. And we both gave Connery a 9.5. So, and then our total Sean rating is a 91.5. So it's pretty high up for us.
That's a high-rated
So
movie.
between that and Last Crusade, look at that. We're dressed as some of our highest rated films.
That's a high ranking for Sean Connery for a movie where he didn't show up until 40 minutes into it.
But he's phenomenal.
He is phenomenal.
His part of that movie is the best part of that.
It is.
I agree.
My issue is that it basically felt like a half-hour montage of Sean Connery, and then you didn't see him again for the rest. I wanted him to be in the whole film. Like, I wanted more of Connery in Highlander 1.
And we get about the same amount.
I want the whole load.
Yes, I do want the whole load.
We get about the same amount of him in this movie.
And honestly, I think those are the best parts of the movie. I love him, like, getting acclimated, like
on the plane.
The world. Yeah, he's on the plane. It's fucking hilarious when he's getting the suit made.
The suit is
the suit
pays
part
it off with an earring.
Yeah, it's just like a pearl earring.
like here.
The suit part of this movie is my favorite scene. I think it's the coolest scene.
Smoking the cigar.
Yeah.
That's his best scene for sure. He's hitting on the woman in the plane.
So him arriving is funny during the plane.
I read a piece of trivia about the scene in the plane where he's risen up the lady.
Yeah.
Where there's the line where he says,
I could hear it.
All of the dark-haired women are the most beautiful in history, like Cleopatra and Nefertiti. And there's basically a line where he says they also had something else in common. They all like to sit on men's faces.
That's what he says.
That's what he says when he leans in.
Oh my god!
But they cut it out of the I think multiple versions.
They cut it out of theatrical, but you could very faintly hear it because I was watching it with headphones in. Yeah. You would very faintly hear it in the Renegade cut, and I was like, "Oh shit!
Okay,
all right, he's not playing around."
And then the line immediately after that is he says, did you want something to eat? And he says, sorry, I don't eat anything I can't identify. And then he looks at the woman, he's like, well, not everything.
Not everything.
Speaking
of the plane scene, it also had one of my favorite bits of this movie, which was the safety video.
Yes,
oh my goodness.
Yes, I wanted to bring that up.
Oh my god.
Thank you for flying with us and enjoy your flight.
At one point, people are fully wearing the oxygen bags over their heads.
Yeah, they say if there's smoke in the cabin, please put the smoke mask on your head and crawl to the nearest exit.
And the model that crashes down.
It's like somebody was like, all right, what's the most horrifying, panic-inducing thing we can show to people who are about to get on an airplane? Let's make that, and that'll be our safety video.
Well, I've got a joke for us. Wouldn't it be funny if the video that gets shown on the plane was Edinburgh?
I remember when I was a boy, in the summer, late on a Saturday afternoon, the men used to change their caps for the traditional Edinburgh hangout. I wonder if that's where the Americans got their term.
Which, past callback episode, that was a video that was a short film that Sean Connery did promoting his hometown that was made for airplanes for tourists that were coming into the city.
Which is one of my favorite things the whole time. He's basically like...
He's grumpy about it.
Yeah, because he's like... It's like a tourist video, so he's talking about how great it is, but he also has this underlying joke where he's like, please stop coming here. It's like someone who lives in Salem, during Halloween. Like, please stop coming here.
Speaking of Sean Connery being from Scotland, I just have to point out the elephant in the room is who had the unmitigated fucking audacity to make a movie called Highlander featuring a Scottish guy and make Sean Connery the Spanish guy.
Yeah, and make the French guy the Scottish guy.
Yeah.
But he died in Scotland, so he is reborn in Scotland. So it's a little
weird
nod for the character.
And not that I doubt Connery's ability to play an actor of any country's origin. It's just like, really, this is about Scotland. Like, it's called Highlander, for fuck's sake. You can't make Sean Connery. You can't figure out a way to make him Scottish also in the movie.
Is it about Scotland though? Because depending on which version of the movie you're watching, none of them are Scottish. Really,
yeah,
it depends. I guess. Yeah,
they're all.
Or past people.
Yeah.
Or
I was so thoroughly
all right,
confused.
so
by that.
let's
do you want to? How do you want to do this? Do you want to talk about one and then the other?
I think we should just bounce between the two. So,
Okay.
So, all right, let's do our usual business.
Yeah.
I just pulled up the links here. Rotten Tomatoes gives this a 0.
Wow. A straight up 0.
Straight up
That's
0.
unheard of.
Wow, it's better than Joker Folie à Deux.
IMDb gives it a 4.2.
That tracks.
Yeah, this is the first sequel we've covered. The first and only sequel
Wow.
that we've covered.
I think the only
I don't do
sequel-
sequels.
Well,
Yeah.
no, if you count the Bond movies, they're kind of sequels.
Kind of sequels,
It's
but
not-
this is
it's
the
not the
only.
same
They're
thing.
more
Yeah.
serial.
Yeah.
There were
Yeah.
a few things that like carried over, like especially in Russia with Love and Goldfinger.
He's got the same girlfriend.
Or
Yeah.
Dr. No, whatever. Yeah. So those cross over a little bit, and obviously the Daniel Craig ones all were sequels, but like.
But this is
yeah.
the only real
But, yeah.
sequel he did. I mean, you
Yeah.
could say Last Crusade is a sequel, but
He
this is
got
the
paid,
only
like-
Not in
time.
the first.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the only
He-
time he's like, I did film 1 and I'm gonna do film 2.
$3 million he
Never
got paid
again.
for this too. $3 million
Really?
bucks,
Yeah.
and like I was watching
Good cash grab.
I was watching a couple of behind the scenes. The villain,
Michael Ironside.
Michael Ironside. There's an interview with
Katana.
him who was like basically like, yeah, me and Sean fucking hated this movie, and we just did it for the money. And like
That's
he's
great.
like I did it because I wanted to be a villain in something, and it's like I just kind of cheesed it up a little bit.
He
but we were
definitely
there
had
for
fun.
we were there
Oh,
for
yeah.
a fucking paycheck, man. I was like,
Dude
it
had
shows.
a great time.
It
I can't believe they
shows.
spent $34 million on this movie.
Well,
That's
and,
insanity.
And okay, so while it was filming, you said it was filmed in Argentina. The
economy collapsed.
economy collapsed, and the value of the dollar became
Yeah.
nothing. So
Well, what
They-
happened was
they had
the investors in the movie took control of the production and editing because they wanted to be sure that they would get a movie out. So they basically kicked the director and the other creative people out of the production and finished it on their own and said, here you go, here's a movie. And that's where the theatrical cut came from.
Interesting.
which makes a lot of sense because it's 82 minutes
Yeah.
or 88 minutes or something like that.
And then later, I think we get the Renegade version because the director and the other creative team decided that they were going to have a go at trying to make the movie they wanted to do and re-edited it. That's what I read
Yeah.
through the Wikipedia, which I'm sure we will get to Wikipedia.
Indeed, and as we were saying, this is the only time we've covered a film that has two versions of it, and none of the other films we've watched have been re-edited. My spiderweb fell down, and now it looks like the Pumpkin Man's got one of those like gypsy headdresses.
Maybe he's in
I
costume.
like it. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But yeah, this is the only film that we've watched that's had a re-edit.
Yeah.
Have any of the other films we watched like?
You guys
We've-
have pitched a number of re-edits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
We want to do Never Say Never Again as a re-edit.
Yeah.
We want to do a couple others.
Are there
Yeah.
any extended versions? Maybe like a Indiana Jones extended cut?
No.
I mean,
yeah,
I would
don't
also
think
argue
so.
that like this level of a re-edit for the purpose that
It's
it is happening,
severe,
it's got to be
yeah.
a rarity
Yeah.
That's
in
true.
all of like major. I don't know what time of year this came out, but it feels like a blockbustery. They're trying to do a big movie
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Well, talking about
So-
time of year, Halloween, the closest thing I can think of to this movie is Halloween 6, which has a theatrical and a producer's cut.
Yeah.
And they are drastically different. So,
Yeah, the
That's
plot of this
insane.
movie is entirely different in
Yeah.
the re-edit. It's not
Yeah.
just like extended scenes. It's a completely different storyline.
Well, not only that, but even the method of presentation of the parts that are the same
Yes.
are ordered completely differently.
different takes are used.
Different, yeah, across the board,
Yeah.
everything is different.
I'm
And
surprised
there
they
are
had so
things
much
that I
footage.
prefer in both of them.
Same.
It's
Yeah.
very much like Justice League, the Zack Snyder
Yeah.
cut, like two different movies.
Oh, for
And
sure.
One
Very much so.
drastically longer than the other as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, do you guys think you like one better than the other for Highlander 2?
Yes.
Yes.
Which one?
I think I actually like the theatrical cut.
I
Theatrical
agree.
Cut? How about you?
Okay. So I like the Renegade cut, not because I thought it was much higher quality, but I thought it made more sense, the storyline. I thought the whole Planet Zeiss thing was like out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
And
So,
I
yeah.
thought the way they presented it in the Renegade cut made more sense as compared to the first movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
the beginning moves faster.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think.
I agree with with that sentiment. However, if you just take this movie at its face value, I think the theatrical cut makes a lot more sense.
I agree.
I think that in order for them to try to make it make sense with the first film, they had to really butcher a lot of stuff like out.
Yeah.
And then like once you see it in the theatrical version, you're like, oh, that's the sentence he was trying to say there.
Yeah.
Because like there's just sentence there. I mean, they eliminate every single. Oh, before we get into
trim all the fat.
Should we talk about the difference? The fundamental difference between the two films is in the theatrical version,
they're aliens.
They're aliens from a planet called Zeist.
Yes.
And when they are on Earth, it's because they're sent there as like a penitentiary, essentially.
A punishment.
And they become immortal.
Yeah.
And they become immortal until all of the Zeistians are killed except for one of them.
Yeah.
And then that person has the ability to either return to Zeist or to continue living on Earth.
As
and either
immortal.
way, they'll be immortal.
No,
When they return,
amortal.
Yeah, they will be a mortal
mortal
person. They can die.
Yes.
Whether they return to Zeist or they stay on Earth.
Yeah.
And then
In
apparently
the
in the Renegade,
they're just from the past.
Yes.
From the very
An
distant
unspecified past. And in both cuts, Virginia Madsen basically lays it out exactly the way you did. So let me get this straight.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're immortal.
One of those things that's clearly for the audience. You know, it's like people don't talk that way in real life.
Yes.
Sean, I've had that conversation a million times. Is that like that's not dialogue that people have in conversation.
Well, not only that, but like she also does it in a way that's completely mocking the film that it's in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And which is
like
a
a
nice
meta.
kind of tongue-in-cheek thing.
Indeed.
Like, I mean, it speaks to. There is definitely an intended aspect of this film to be schlocky and to be goofy.
Yeah.
Like there's the
my
vignette
first time
thing.
in the desert. Which way to Vegas?
Yeah.
I like this place. It's got atmosphere.
Well,
Yeah, like I mean, like there's also like these little vignette things that happen throughout the film, like the taxi driving scene.
Yeah.
I
is
loved that.
ridiculous. That we'll
I
talk
gotta
about.
hook
it
you
at
up
some
with my
point.
sister. You guys would get along great.
Yeah.
We win the music.
You can sit around and compare tattoos.
That was a great line.
That's in both cuts, and it's like, oh my god.
The best part of that scene is when he sticks the sword through the window and he's like, "Fuck yeah! Holy shit!"
God damn! Whoa! Shit! Fuck! Yeah!
You're in the music industry. I got a hunch.
My first reaction to that was like, what did he need to stick the sword through the window for? Is it just to terrorize this
he
guy?
breaks every window in the taxi and slices his entire.
And no reason. Hey, put this on my tab and add a little something for yourself.
So there's these clearly very goofy vignettes, and then there's also these, like, what for the time I would imagine were probably better received action sequences. I think by modern standards they're very slow, and like the sword fighting in particular in both films I felt like was not. Like, we've seen some very, very well done sword fights in modern movies that, like...
The sword fights in one are pretty good.
I thought they're okay, but they're slow. They're very slow.
I think the pacing of the movies of the time is slower.
Yeah, like...
I love that garage fight, though.
The garage fight is cool.
phenomenal.
The garage fight is the best fight, I think, in the first movie.
Yeah.
And maybe probably in both movies.
I agree. The train fight in the second movie, I thought was...
Yeah, that first fight.
The first one, really good. I was like, if they spend $34 million on this, $20 million is spent on the train fight right here.
Yeah, probably.
Like the train fight?
Like when they're on
when the
top
first
of the
two
train,
guys show up to kill him.
Oh, yes.
And when he's old
And he's
man,
beheaded by the
drops
train.
him in between
Yes.
and like kicks him down.
I've got my notes here.
Yeah, I have
that
notes
in one of
too.
my
Oh,
notes.
same.
So that entire fight sequence, man, did it remind you of anything? It reminded me of a...
Toxic Avenger.
It reminded me, like, the whole... When they're on the little hoverboard things and they're, like, fighting...
Oh,
and,
Back
like,
to the Future?
a little bit of that. It reminds
Green
me
Goblin?
of... It reminds me of Hobgoblin and Toby
In Spider-Man
fighting
3?
in Spider-Man 3.
Really?
When they're in the alleyway? That's what it
Yeah.
reminded me of. I was like...
Oh, and he pulls the wire and
Yeah, and they're chasing each other through the city at night. He doesn't have a suit on. I'm like, this reminds me of Spider-Man 3. I'm like, this is
I can
the
see
couple,
that.
the
You mean
couple-
Spider-Man 3 clearly took its influence from Highlander too?
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Raimi loves movies like this.
Yeah.
The amazing Evil Dead films.
This strikes me as very up Sam Raimi's alley.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
But Mario, real quick, answer the question you asked. I prefer. I prefer the theatrical cut as well. Which cut do you prefer?
I don't know, because after seeing them both, it's like, I don't know. I was just so exhausted after watching the theatrical cut that like, I'm like, all right, we got to get through this again. I did it 2 different days. So I can't.
You did the theatrical first.
Theatrical first, just to see what the fuck the deal was and see what the differences are on the other one. I don't know. I think I like theatrical better. Just because, certain things taken out, like the music bits are kind of taken out. But I kind of like the pace of the Renegade cut in the beginning, just of him waking up in the balcony.
Yeah,
like,
the start of the Renegade cut is better.
Yeah,
It's like the way it goes from the O of opera to the singer's mouth is great, but in the theatrical cut, they put the logo right in between that, and it like ruins the transition.
My note from the opening as I was watching Renegade cut is that I like how this starts more, but they're still just expecting the audience to get up to speed with a bunch of random shit really quickly. That was not at all even referenced in the first film. But I think it was easier in the theatrical cut to see what's going on because you had those like 3 flashbacks in a row. But that was, again, just a lot to take in. From the last time we saw this guy, he was like riding off into the sunset, and now he's a scientist. He saved the Earth. Like, where did that all come from?
Like, where was his wife at? We saw him. He's like happy at the end and shit. Like,
Let's address this. Is this the first movie we've watched that takes place this year?
Yeah, that was my first note as well.
This film takes place in 2024.
Yeah. Oh wait, no. Yeah.
And it's actually pretty realistic how 2024
The opening is in 1999.
Yeah, but isn't there
when they fire up the shield?
Isn't there something else that's in the future?
There's a
movie we did.
Outland.
Oh yeah, what year was that? That was 20-something too, I think.
Let's find out.
I feel like there's a couple that were like, oh shit, this is like getting close to our days. Fuck, man, I remember when 2015 hit, I'm like, where the fuck's the flying cars, the sports hall?
Yeah, right.
I was pissed.
It's so hilarious to me, like, as we come around to the years of like the future, and like in Star Trek, any of you guys watch Star Trek at all?
Yeah, a little bit.
So one of the things that happens in Deep Space Nine is in 2024 there are riots that are referred to as the Bell Riots, and it's sort of like the turning point in society where we realize like we can't live like this anymore, and they start to like move towards the advanced Star Trek society is when these riots happen in 2024. And honestly, I'm looking around and I'm like, shit, are we close? Is this gonna actually fulfill itself?
Are we Star Trek?
Maybe.
Am I Star Trek?
Outland does not say what year it takes place.
Huh. I could have sworn there was one that was like near the year we were in, but
maybe wrong is right. No. Well, I think this might be the closest to.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely on the nose for sure.
It's 2024.
2024,
and we're in the final months of 2024.
Intro wise, that was my first note as well. I was like, oh, it's Kismet. We're 99 to 24.
Two versions, 2 guests.
Hey.
Whoa.
Highlander 2.
But I thought there could only be one.
Yeah.
We're going to kill each other.
Whichever one of us.
You have one of those spare swords lying around.
Sean and I have to battle to the death, and the prize is you get to take over one of their spots as a regular host. So.
Great.
No more moving for your job, Sean. You're stuck here being on this podcast indefinitely.
So
there's only 10 episodes left, or 12, or whatever.
Of the 2 intros, I vastly preferred the theatrical cut, strictly because of the fact that I knew I wasn't going to get these flashbacks at inopportune times later on in the movie that detracted from the pace of the film significantly.
That's true.
Because I felt like as the Renegade cut went on, I was like, all of this nonlinear storytelling is not benefiting this movie that already kind of has weird editing and pace issues because it's a recut of another movie.
I do agree with you there.
And I also thought that honestly, anytime you can show and not tell, it's beneficial. So while it doesn't explain, and I still have the question of or I have 2 major questions. One of them is how did McLeod become involved in science in any way, shape, or form? I guess he's been alive for so long that maybe he just knows how to do stuff.
Yeah, he'd be very
but
smart.
It just hasn't been explained.
Well, at the end of the first one, didn't he like become like all knowing or
yeah,
something?
that's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's like in tune with all of the people, so maybe he draws from that. But
that might have been the aspect of the first film that I really didn't like, because it's like, what? That doesn't make sense. I can buy that he's immortal, but now he's in tune with all sentient life.
Yeah.
Well, but now he's no longer immortal. Now he's mortal, and he's in tune with all sentient life. Sentient life. So now he has the weird thing he has to deal with understanding what everyone is going through all the time.
All times.
At all points of time.
So many people are masturbating right
now. and then he's also going to die. So
yeah.
Here you go. Here's your prize.
Please let me die. I can't watch any more people masturbate.
Yeah. I think what you're getting at kind of like illustrates a point that I thought about these very well, is that they tried in the first movie, I don't know how well they executed, but they tried to reveal the right information at the right times to benefit the story with the flashbacks. But they did a horrible job of that in both Highlander 2 cuts, because you don't find out until the very end of the Renegade cut that it was his second wife who died of the radiation sickness, who was like, please make the world better for me. And like, wouldn't that have been good information to have as to how he became a scientist? Why couldn't you have picked up where the last film left off? Like, all right, now this is what's gotten us to, this is where we're at now. His wife is dying. That's why he became a scientist. Like, that would have taken 30 seconds to illustrate.
I literally had a note in my notes of the Renegade cut that I was like, these flashbacks would much be better served as the start of the film rather than being flashbacks randomly in this place. And then I started watching the theatrical version, and I was like, oh, they just did that in the theatrical version. I was like, why did the director think this is a better idea?
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that there's this thing in sci-fi in general, both in literature and in film, where like nonlinear storytelling like is a necessity, and like any piece of art, I think that like any sort of mechanism can be used for the benefit of the piece of art you're making, but it shouldn't be done because you think it's supposed to be there. It should be done because it belongs.
It's like the Tarantino effect now. Like, I know this was pre like most of the major Tarantino films, but like now everybody wants to tell a story in a sideways, backwards way,
Nolan.
Just because, or Nolan, something like that.
Those are the two people who probably do it the best. In modern popular cinema.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that was my main takeaway from the beginning. I just thought, in general, this movie's not executing many things on a very high level, so why try to do something that's a bit more difficult in terms of nonlinear storytelling? Like, let's just, here, kid, let me set up the tee for you so you can try and whiff at this ball here, boy.
It feels like, to me, like I said, I think the first film is such a perfect, like, thing. It's so good for what it is, and then
I think
when you're writing the second one, it's like, where do we go from here?
I think the first film executed really well on what it set out to do, and then I think people wanted more, and they were like, "Oh shit, what do we do now?"
Yeah, where do we go from here? Now he is communing with all sentient life.
Yeah.
What would he do? I guess it would make sense that he would go on to help benefit the world in a good way, but it should have been more like, I don't know, if I was to write a sequel to Highlander, it would have been him blending into excuse me, I need a drink of water. Blending into society better than he was before. Maybe becoming a more philanthropic person.
Yeah, or
or just a complete left turn. Just here's a similar story with completely new characters.
Which is what every sequel after 2 seems to be.
Yeah,
I think that would have been a better route to go.
No. You could even go prequel and like explain, like delve more into his life in the Highlands, because he is the Highlander, right?
Or if you're gonna do it and you know you're gonna bring Sean Connery back for the sequel, do Connery's backstory.
Explain that.
Because the age that you are is the age that you died at. Right? So like Connor McLeod died in his 30s-ish, and so he remains at that age. Connery must have died in his 60s. Juan Sanchez Villalobos must have died in his 60s. So you can just bring Connery back as that same...
Imagine a movie that just takes place in like like because he's way older than McLeod too.
Yeah.
So like just like I don't even know like how long ago it would have been like probably like
500 years.
Well, 500 years is when
How
they
long
met
he's
each
been
other.
dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like he was already alive for like another like I think like thousands of years before that. It's kind of implied. So like imagine him just
Is he
in
given
like,
a Wikipedia page?
like super old Spain, just Connery, just like
I would take an entire movie.
That'd be a movie.
I would take an entire movie of Sean Connery making his way through Scotland, learning what the future is like, and just being in suit shops and on airplanes for the first time, and like showing up in a play and being like, well, obviously this guy's been alive for thousands of years. He knows what a fucking play is, and he has absolutely no idea what is happening as he shows up in the middle of a play. He probably knew Shakespeare, and he's like, well, what the hell is this? I don't know what's going on. You know, he acts like he's never seen a play before in his life.
Well, Shakespeare would have been after he died.
Oh, yeah?
Right?
Yes.
500 years. Shakespeare's like
Yes.
what, like 1600s?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So-
he would have been.
Yeah.
That would have been like the 1200 or no,
I suppose.
Juan Sanchez
1400s.
Villalobos Ramirez has quite a lengthy Wikipedia page here,
Jesus.
as you can see.
Why?
So,
Why?
so they've covered his history. Like that would have been a good
Interesting.
history, and then you get 3-4 paragraphs here as alternative history of the film Highlander 2: The Quickening.
Oh,
I see.
interesting.
So as like a discarded history, but there's been a lot of comics and other stories, and in Highlander 3 it deals with some of his backstory and.
Well, I mean, he's arguably a more engaging character than McLeod is.
I
sure.
agree, yeah.
So I mean, I would see why, like, as a community fan base for somebody that likes this franchise, like, he would definitely be someone, especially if you're doing like fan level stuff. If you're doing comics or like whether it's official or unofficial, whatever, like he's a more interesting jumping off point. He's a much more charismatic character. He has a more unique and interesting backstory depending on what you're interested in.
Yeah.
If this was made this decade, Highlander and same film, same actors were still
Yeah.
alive and everything, Connery's character would have been recognized as a star, and they would have said, "Okay, let's do a prequel."
Yeah.
Because
I
that's the
agree.
way
Yeah.
films work now.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Disney
Like,
would have bought it and they would have made a 8-part mini series on Disney
I'd
Plus.
be
I
cool
can't wait
with
to go to
that.
Highlander World in Disney World. You know, I want to go to that section.
That'd be awesome.
Real quick, guys, I need a drink.
Yes.
Which reminds me, I've got these poured here. And I
Yes.
think we should take a second to just celebrate the fact that our friend Sean Murphy just had a child.
Yes.
Woo! Congratulations.
New baby.
So I think we should
Fantastic,
toast
Sean.
him.
Congratulations.
Everyone clap for me. just kidding. Yeah.
Toast him.
Well, not to me. Toast my wife who had to do all the hard work.
Toast to Marina.
To Sean and Marina.
The backbone
and
of
their
that
lovely
marriage.
family.
Amen.
Cheers.
Cheers.
From Connery, curious to you.
Excellent. What vintage is that?
It is no sugar iced tea.
Oh, very nice. That's probably why it doesn't taste like wine.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had another question at the beginning of the film that I wanted
Yes.
to ask you guys if you can give me any sort of answer on.
Okay.
What is the quickening?
Okay.
There's multiple definitions.
Yes.
No, I don't want you to tell me what you think it says on the internet. I want you to tell me what, from you watching the movie, what you think the quickening is.
Well, I'm gonna pull it up. I'm not gonna look at it.
But just so we can see what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
so we
that
can
would be
compare it.
interesting. Yeah.
I just assumed it was like their version of the Force or something.
Okay.
They described it in the first movie.
Like,
and
isn't it like what happens when they cut their heads off or something? Like
Yeah,
the
it's
fucking,
the consumption of the
the
soul.
midichlorians.
So is that supposed to be the same thing? Like when one of them dies, is that also the quickening, or is that not like?
So I think it's So
When they
in the
run
first
on-
film, when he killed another immortal, he absorbed that.
Yes.
And everything exploded around him.
Yeah.
That was the quickening.
The quickening is upon
But
us.
there's also the scene when he's training with Connery in the first movie, and they're running on the beach, and he says to him, "Feel the quickening."
He describes
And,
the quickening.
and they
so-
start running,
and with the
they
horses,
start
yeah.
just being happy and joyful and like
That's their
pushing-
call to kill each other. Like that's their instincts, their drive. That's how they described it in the first movie, in the scene you're talking about.
It is kind of
Okay.
like the Force. Yeah.
That's what pulls them together to like be the only one left. Like that's that force that they feel.
okay.
well,
But in the second movie, it's very
I
different.
say The only other things I was going to say is there are distinct times in the theatrical cut where Connery talks about what it is that I don't think are in the Renegade cut from my memory, but like essentially what they say every time is they're like, "Oh, it's like magic." And then Connery's like, "Yes, kind of."
There's some of that.
The Queen song, "A Kind of Magic."
Yeah, and then there's other points where they're just like, "Man, am I glad for the quickening."
Yeah.
Well, there's the part it's in both the Renegade and the theatrical cut where they like put their hands in the weird gold thing and touch it together.
Yeah.
And that is the quickening of them joining themselves together inextricably.
So that's the other thing though too, is like it seems like to me, from what happens in the second movie, forget about the first movie for a second, but like that is Connery and McLeod establishing the quickening between the two of them only.
In two.
Yeah.
In two,
Yes. That
when they do the weird
binds their
honeypot
soul
thing.
together. Yeah.
Like that is the quickening.
Yes.
And that doesn't exist between any of the other immortals and them, or them and any of the other immortals. It's just between Connery and McLeod.
I have no idea.
I feel like he implies that other immortals can quicken together.
That's how bad the second movie messes things up by throwing this in. It could have just stuck with the canon of the first one.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Well, or more of my question, too, is like in the first one, it's also not really explained, really. But it could have just been not mentioned at all in either movie, in my opinion. Like, I don't think it's so ambiguous that it doesn't add any clarity to the plot in any way, shape, or form to me. And I think it's even weirder that it is the subtitle.
So what you're saying is they could have called it Highlander 2 Electric Boogaloo and it would have made no difference.
Absolutely.
It would have been like if it
would
was
have made more sense because when people die, there's giant electrical explosions and electricity definitely boogaloos its way out of the dead body into their asses.
The first quickening in this movie, the explosions are so violent they derail a fucking fuel truck. And then after that they're just like
the next best thing in these movies is absolutely the explosions.
Yes.
Like when I say the practical effects in these movies are good, that's what I'm talking about. The explosions, they're like if they spent, like you said earlier, if they had $30 million budget and $20 million of it was on the first.
Yeah.
All of the remaining budget was for Sean Connery and explosions.
The fire guy.
I'm telling you, the four of us could have made this movie for $4 million sans explosions.
What does
There's very few sets in this movie as compared to the first one.
Yeah, what does the internet, out of curiosity, what does the internet say the quickening is?
All right, what exactly is the quickening? Quickening is the feeling of your growing baby wiggling around inside your uterus for the first time.
Ask Marina. Call her now.
He's got the quickening.
Is the baby quickening?
The quickening.
There can only be one.
But that is what quickening is.
Yeah,
interesting.
The quickening is what happens every time he meets a woman and tells her what he is, because every single time across all three versions of movies, Highlander and then both versions of the second one, every time he explains what he is to a woman, she's like, "We must fuck now," and they immediately jump on each other as soon as she finds out.
But apparently,
he's immortal.
the theatrical cut, there is no banging.
There's no explicit banging. There's making out.
There's implied banging.
The implication
She makes out with him the second she learns he's an alien.
She's like, "Oh my god, you're an alien!
Which is actually,
I must kiss an alien today."
It's even crazier to me. So that was my note in all three of the movies, was kind of like, why is there this, like, it's the implication.
It's the implication.
But like as soon as they find out that he's immortal, like he immediately apparently that's the ultimate riz.
He's got to be. He's been laying pipe for hundreds of years. He knows the best technique. Watch, you get him in the sex. Like, I've fucked so many times.
He just cries the whole time.
Yeah, I have no interest in fucking.
I'm just gonna lay here. You do whatever you want to do. I'll see you in the morning.
And yeah, he cries over all the people he's lost in his life.
Yeah.
I loved a woman once.
But it was even crazier to me
like,
though in the theatrical version, because in the other version, at least he's like, "I'm this person and I can't die." In the theatrical version, he's like, "I'm straight up an alien
and I can't die."
And I can't die. And she's like, "I'm in."
I have this toy at home that looks like a tentacle. So
funny enough,
it's not that far fetched.
I had bang an alien on my to-do list today, so I'm gonna check that one off.
And strangely, Just like Aaron with the Wheel of Curiosities, I put that on my to-do list this morning. Okay, so characters often refer to the term quickening to refer to the process of a baby the actual process of an immortal's energy being released after losing their head. Series actor Adrian Paul explained, "The quickening is the receiving of all the power and knowledge another immortal has obtained throughout his or her life," which makes so much more sense.
And it makes sense in light of the ultimate prize. You see, had they explained that in the first Highlander movie, that's what the quickening was, then at the end, the ultimate prize he won of being one with everybody in the whole world would have made a lot more sense, because he's becoming one with the other immortals as he kills them.
And their knowledge. But what happens if all the other immortals are just like really dumb?
Well, I mean,
they've taken all their long lives.
How much
to
knowledge
not
do you think
learn
you got
anything.
from the bad guy in the first movie?
Yeah, Kurgan is like, oh, damn it, I know how to drive stick.
It's like that zombie show where like she eats the brains and she can like feel like that person for a while. Was that iZombie? Have you guys seen that?
I don't think so.
It's like a zombie detective show where she's like a zombie but like is, you know, functional as a person and helps out the local police department. And basically when somebody dies,
like
she can eat a small piece of their brain. Yeah, it's garbage. It's terrible. But she can eat a small piece of their brain, and like if the person was a musician, she can play piano for like 24 hours or something like that.
Wonderful.
And it like
So
helps
she
her
poops
solve
the brains
crimes.
out?
Yeah, until she passes them, in which case, you know, all bets are off.
She needs another bite.
So do we want to do the wiki for this? Like, is it even worth it?
I think we just got fucking because it's 2 movies.
Let's give the basic plot. Earth's ozone is depleted.
It's gone.
Connor McLeod is a scientist who has built an artificial ozone layer shield around the Earth. 25 years later, the Earth sucks because of it.
You know what that pissed me off about that? At the end, when he finally turns the shield off, it's just a fucking night sky under it. Wouldn't it have been cooler if like the sun was out?
Well, what's funny is that
much more fitting.
in the Renegade cut where they show them getting to the top of the mountain to get above the shield, which first of all makes zero sense, because if the whole purpose of the shield was to block the entire Earth, they're on some hill that they can walk up and they're above the shield. They're not on Mount Everest. They're not on Kilimanjaro, like the tallest peaks. They're like the hill at the end of the desert. They're like, oh yeah, that's tall enough. You can get above the shield.
Yeah, well, yeah, they go from the desert to the fucking Alps.
And then there's skyscrapers which are below the shield. So like, where is the actual shield, first of all?
Yeah, not high enough. And the globe that he has has the shield like an inch and a half away from the globe.
Like it's in space.
Yeah.
And so they get up there,
and
it's the middle
cut,
of the day.
In the theatrical cut, they shoot it into a satellite.
Yes.
So it's in space.
It's way out in space.
Exactly.
So the proportions and the continuity of this shield are way fucking off. And when they get above it, it's blue. It's like midday. And then literally like 30 movie seconds later, they destroy it, and it's night. It's in the middle of the night. So the time warped from 12 noon to 12 midnight in the span of like 30 minutes, which is like 30 seconds of screen time, basically.
Like that would have made more sense. Like, because the example I saw, I think it was the Marvels, not the best Marvel movie out there, but like the Marvels came out, and that was a thing where there was I forgot exactly what happened, but like this planet had no sun for the longest time. At the end of the movie, they get the sun back, and it's like, holy shit, like this is an amazing moment. So at the end of this one, it's just kind of like, boom, shield's done, looks at the camera, freeze frame.
Oh, yeah,
and it's over. I'm like, that's it. Like, I want to.
So I read online there's been 3 different endings to the movie, or maybe even 4.
Oh, what are the other 2 that we missed?
Like
so there's
8 minutes in
there's
one
so the theatrical version, the 2 of them smile at each other, freeze frame, it ends. And they don't even really make a big deal of like seeing the night sky.
Yeah, and you hear Connery's voiceover.
Yes, and
in both of them.
Yeah, there's 2 different lines.
Yeah,
in the 2 different versions for the last line.
Yeah,
and
both of them end with glorious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Renegade cut, they embrace each other and like kiss in front of the stars.
Yes.
And then it stops, and then the credits run. There's another version where the 2 of them kiss, and they go back to Zeist.
What?
Yes.
What?
He brings her with him to Zeist.
And she can't breathe their atmosphere, so she dies instantly.
Yeah, and I think there might be one other version.
That's hilarious.
or like it's a different atmospheric pressure, and she just instantly implodes.
Yeah, it's like when SpongeBob walks into Sandy's dome. Like, I need water.
That's how he sounded at the beginning.
Pinky up, pinky up.
And it's like, oh no, we can't go back. I'm sorry. It was a one-way trip.
Like what I always thought of with the old man voice is, like, look how they massacred my boy.
Oh,
like
yeah.
it made me think of that. The way he was talking the whole time.
He sounds like an
You
old
can
New
be
York
nice,
Jew.
so you can be not nice.
Every time he talked, it made me fucking laugh. My favorite line is when he wakes up in the balcony and it's like, the show is over. It's like, I knew it would be. He says something like that. I'm like, I knew it would be. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
no, sir,
what?
there are no never-ending operas. It's not a thing.
I knew it would. I knew it. It's like me at the end of Madam Web. Someone woke me up and it's like, it's over. I knew it would be.
Sir, you've got to take the popcorn bucket off your dick now.
Your dick is full of butter. I knew it would be. I knew it would be.
That's why I put it in there, to be honest.
Flavored for her pleasure. So in the theatrical cut, when they're talking about all the ozone stuff, there's a news report, and the guy says that there has been no rain for 25 years on the planet Earth.
And that struck me as hilarious because rain is within the atmosphere. It's
Yes.
like not above the
yeah.
ozone layer.
Yeah, and they say there's no clouds, there's minimal sun or no sun, and there's been no rain. So I was like, so all of these people would be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100% of people would be dead. There would be.
Don't they have like oxygen machines on the side? Because
that
that
also
also
got me.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
you got any change for the oxygen machine?
That also got me
or
because I'm like, again,
I was like-
oxygen is created below the ozone layer within our atmosphere by trees.
But there would be no trees if there's no rain and no sun.
But how could there be no rain or sun?
And with like a perpetual nighttime, there'd be more electricity usage, which would increase the carbon footprint, which would make less
suppose there
breathable
would.
air.
It's a cool concept, but it's just not executed properly
No, not at
because
all.
of everything you have there.
The world building of this world is the most generic, like dystopian future generic kind of thing you've ever could possibly imagine.
What if he goes to bar?
Yeah.
Literally, he does. He goes to bar.
Yep.
Yeah.
What bar?
Bar.
Well, there's only one bar in New York City now.
Did you notice in the Renegade cut, there's a dude at the bar that looks exactly like Pee Wee Herman?
No.
Punch that in, Dylan.
Yeah,
I did love the bar scene with the lady.
I could be
yelling.
wrong. I wrote in my notes Pee Wee Herman. Question mark. And then I looked at IMDb. I was like, oh, Pee Wee Herman's not in this movie.
A lot of my notes were just like
There
my
can
reactions.
only be one.
My
Can't be
reactions
Pee-wee.
to the film as it happened were a lot of them. And
Were a lot of 'em.
Well, a lot of my notes was just like, what? In both cuts, I wrote, his old man voice is terrible. That lady was right to be mad at him. The lady in the bar who was like, what? You ruined my life by making the shield. And the bartender's like, I think he saved everybody. She's like, shut up, and throws the bottle at him. Like, some of the awful acting were some of the best parts of this movie.
Why do they always come to my place?
Yeah. You're the only bar in fucking New York City, apparently.
I shouldn't have called it bar.
At any point in time, did they make it clear that it's New York City? Did they ever say it's New York City? Like, I think it is New York, right?
Actually, I don't even know if it's New York. Oh, yeah, because...
I think it's New York.
I may be remembering this
Yeah.
one, but I thought it was on the plaque on the statue.
Maybe.
Where it said 25 years under the shield. But I could be wrong.
It doesn't give anything here on the wiki.
I think the only time they mention New York is on the plane. Do they mention that it's a flight to New York?
I don't recall him saying where the flight was to. Like, he said he had a long journey ahead of him when he walked into the suit shop.
Yeah, I'm saying I think there was like someone that said like a flight to New York, something like that. I was like, oh, cool, they're going to New York.
Well, I can tell you definitively where it's set. In Tim Burton's Gotham.
It does look like
Yes,
Gotham.
correct.
Or
The first two villains are also from Tim Burton's Gotham.
either
Yeah,
that,
the
just
porcupine guys.
Yeah.
either that or Biff Tannen's alternate 1985.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I say that is the other
Like,
vibe you definitely get.
it's like
Yeah.
there's all the hooligans in the
Biff
town
Tannen,
square.
yeah. I
Yeah, the
felt
fact
like
that
a-
like the corporation is just a big statue as the front of its building.
Yeah.
That's Tim Burton's Gotham combined with Joel Schumacher's Gotham.
And it also, it kind of took me out of it a minute. because
looks exactly like the Oscars.
John C. McGinley, Dr. Cox from Scrubs,
Oh,
is
yeah,
the
yeah.
guy in
It does look
charge
like
of
the
the
Oscar.
corporation.
Yeah,
It does. You're right.
Perry Cox.
That the whole corporation thing was some of the funniest things to me because, like, you know, the villain walks into the meeting and he's like, "Hey, you're interrupting my meeting."
Oh,
And-
I've had enough of you.
Yeah, and exactly.
Like, the guy who shoots him, like,
It's like, step one, all right, what do you do if somebody walks into your meeting? Step one, tell them they need to leave. Step two, shoot them dead. You know, like, I always shoot people dead in the middle of the conference room when people walk into my meetings unannounced.
I love this. It's the same. Like, you get the same calories out of it. It's just what salt and spices you add to it. The line of, "Oh, I think you'll find the costume parade is in the next building."
Some of the best, like, one-liners.
Which I made note of that one because, like, costume parade. Didn't you mean costume party?
Yeah.
No, it's a parade.
I thought that he was one of the better actors in the film.
Oh, yeah, John
Yes.
C. McGinley, for
yeah,
sure.
he's wonderful.
He's fantastic.
And it also just goes on to be like, he's playing Dr. Perry Cox.
He is.
Yes,
Exactly.
and he's
His
also
inspiration.
he's killed by his Dr. Cox.
Yes.
Yeah.
Defenestrated by his Dr. Cox.
Yes, he is.
My next note I had, which is not really what we've been talking about now, but I think it's very funny,
Oh, go
is
ahead.
that when they're on Zeist in the theatrical cut, their names are already Ramirez.
Yes,
I
and
thought about that
Connor
in
McLeod.
McLeod.
And I was like, this is very weird.
Damn, he just happened to land right in the clan that was already named McLeod.
Like,
Or did he start that clan?
Did they go on the Planet Zeist version of Google and look like any idiots named McLeod on Earth? And like try and find a McLeod clan to shove him in?
Yeah, send it like Superman's parents. Like he'll be sent to a good home there. They'll raise him well.
Along with that, like, there's also moments later in the film where the bad guy, Takana, I think is his name, or Tanaka.
His soul absorbs the soul of his sword absorbs the soul of its victims.
Yeah, his name is almost Katana, but it's not Katana.
No, it's Katana.
Is it Katana?
Katana.
I think it's
Okay.
They were
yeah.
just like,
I
we
thought
need
it
we need a name for this guy.
Katana.
All right, Katana.
They were like looking around, and the katana prop from Highlander 1 was there.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we'll just name him Katana.
He
And
makes
Mr.
multiple
Sword.
He makes multiple bad puns throughout the film that require a knowledge of
Earth.
like Earth society.
Yes, put it on my tab. When he crashes the train, last stop.
I like when
Yeah.
he goes, I like this place. There's atmosphere here.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, okay, all right.
When
you
he-
have a lot of knowledge that you shouldn't have.
When he lands on the train, the first thing he does is
Where
he
the hell
looks
am
out
I?
the window. He says, "Where the hell am I?" He looks out the window and he says, "This isn't Kansas," which is clearly a reference to the Wizard of Oz.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's another line about like doing draft picks, like
Yeah.
in a lottery,
Yeah.
like a sports line.
But I will say, I mean, The Wizard of Oz is one of the greatest films of all time. So it's plausible
been
that they
beamed
have
to
it on
Zeist.
Planet Zeist.
Yeah.
I think it's probably made its way to the Planet
But then,
Zeist.
but then, in the Renegade cut, he's shown watching a screen where he can like see McLeod.
Yes.
In
And he says like a
the
high school
future.
reunion.
Yeah, and
Oh.
but like you at least have an argument of like, oh, maybe this dude's life for the last 500 years
Has
has
been
been
on the
sitting
TV.
and just pettily watching this screen to be like, fuck this guy, fuck him, he's gonna
Damn
die
it.
one of these days.
That Highlander 1 was a really good movie.
I'm gonna keep watching.
This guy
But-
was supposed to be sent to prison. He's off having fun adventures.
But in the theatrical cut, that concept doesn't exist at all.
Yes, and that was a
Yeah.
point that I made. A point that I wrote down is because in the theatrical cut, they don't necessarily explain why all of a sudden it's time to go back and get him and kill him. Whereas they have the shots of him watching him and being like, all right,
Yeah.
now's the time.
Yeah.
We have to go and kill him. Whereas it seems like in the theatrical, he's just like, oh, you know what I was thinking about? I want to fucking kill McLeod today. And
Yeah.
he just
Yeah.
changes his mind all of a sudden.
Yeah, well, in the Renegade cut, they make it clear that like, don't they say like he could still decide to come back or something like
In the
that?
Renegade cut, yes. They
And that's
say
why
that.
he decides to go kill him.
Yeah, but that information is not in the
Yeah,
theatrical.
it's not in the theatrical cut.
So it's very confusing. I was thoroughly confused for most of the theatrical cut, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
I eventually got it, but like a lot of it just wasn't explained properly.
Yeah.
May I cover a few of my notes?
Yeah, absolutely.
We first see Connery at 6:03 in the Renegade cut. I watched that one first, so I marked
Yep,
the time.
Yeah, it's in the weird downed airplane in the middle of the desert where he's talking to the rebels.
I like the telepathic judges. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's an interesting setup for the first one. I'm just going through my notes. At one point, a security camera zooms in, the way that the film would zoom in. The little things I make note of.
That's funny.
Okay, so in our dystopian city, it's a hard cut to a neon sign. The neon sign says "rap." And jazz is playing.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and it's just a jukebox.
Yes. But I thought it was funny that wouldn't it be more fitting for the neon sign to say jazz?
Yeah, because you had one that said opera, and opera was happening inside, and then you're like, oh, he's in a rap bar. There must be 50 Cent in there, playing.
It made me think of the. Has anyone seen the Mr. Show sketch Rap the Musical?
Yes.
It's all of the fun of rap, but without any of the rap.
Yes.
You got to get Queen in there somehow by playing it on the on the jukebox, and with the big when she's looking through his stuff through the years, like the football and the tank picture of him like firing away in World War I. You get the big operatic version of Who Wants to Live Forever. The flying chase looks so fun. Talking about Spider-Man 3. Train decapitation is great, but the flying one sucks.
That one was bad because it's like slow motion.
But the flying one does have the incredible moment where a random bystander says, "Hey, pal, you got a light?" to a guy flying by him with like mechanical wings.
And porcupine head.
Yeah, who then shoots him with like an incendiary grenade and blows him up.
So within the split second that happened, that guy had a thought. He saw what was happening, processed it, and then he was like, you know what? This actually is a good opportunity for a pun. Let me get this out here real quick while this guy's flying by me. Like in a split second.
What? Less a pun, more. Well, he's got a wingsuit. I bet he's got a lighter.
But
he's probably with the athletic ability he's displaying here. I bet he's a smoker.
He probably is.
The best part about that, though, the very next thing that happens, I know for certain it happens in the theatrical cut. I don't know if it also happens in the Renegade cut. But the very next bullet that's fired, McLeod deflects with the small metal pipe that he has. He's just like, oh.
He's a Jedi now. He can deflect.
Yes, I like how
it's like a random newsstand.
I like how the explosion of the cop car when the porcupine guy shoots the cop car.
Yeah.
And there's a little moment during that sword fight when they're up in the rafters, and McLeod doesn't have a weapon yet, and he runs to the grate, and he's just yanks it off, and he goes, "Thank you."
Yeah.
Thankfully, this thing is like so shitty. I could just break it.
Both of the porcupine guys are just straight up like cartoon villain
Power
bad
Rangers
guys.
is what it reminded me of.
Yes,
Power
Rangers.
I thought of the Power Rangers movie with like Ivan Ooze and like the baddies from that. Like that's
absolutely.
immediately what
Or
came to mind when I
Ninja
saw those
Turtles
guys.
or something.
Yes. And it was
Or
me,
Tim Burton's Batman.
Yeah, like to me, it straight up was like as soon as I saw them, I was like, oh, this is a B movie.
Yes.
Like this is now immediately established as a B movie, and then that coupled with the practical effects for the deaths, I was like, okay, like this is straight up could be like a Tromaville movie because of the way that some of these deaths are occurring.
Yeah.
That head decapitation by the train is
it's phenomenal.
Fantastic.
It's incredible, but it's also like hilariously bad too. Like if you depending on if you're watching that by yourself and you're in the great mood for it, it's awesome.
Yeah.
If you're in a room of friends and you're all watching this movie together, laugh out loud hilarious for the whole group because
it's absurd.
It's absurd. You got this guy cackling like a fucking hyena anytime he does something, and then he like slow motion falls through the train. There is also a thing in these movies where it seems like when someone's like almost about to die, they're just kind of like, all right, whatever, I'm gonna die now.
I'll just
die.
die.
And like he could have kept fighting after he fell through the train. Like he wasn't. Nothing else hurt him up until that point. I don't know why that hurt him. And McLeod kicks his sword away from him. He's like, oh, I guess it's my time. And he just rolls in between the train and gets run over.
The part of the plot where I die has come around.
Same with Katana.
Yeah, but it happens to all of them.
He gave up big time.
It's like
Katana.
Like even in the first one, at the end of the first film when he kills the Kurgan, like for
He
some
knew he was
reason
being-
at that point, slicing him to his body now all of a sudden affected him and made it so he was easier to kill. Up until the entire rest of the film, like he got shot by like a submachine gun, like or like a automatic rifle.
You're
like,
right. They show these
multiple
people
times.
being like absolutely murdered over and over and over again, and then he's slashed one time with a sword. He's like, "Oh, I cannot go on." You know?
Yeah, it's a little bit like, again, it's little B movie-ish things where it's kind of like conveniences to the plot, goofy execution of some things, but all of these things are much more well done in the first movie.
Yes.
And in the second movie, they're like, for budgetary reasons or whatever. I mean, like it's so all over the place.
It is. I love that there's also like another thing that some B movies do in this, which is they make like I think they're subtle references to other films.
Yeah.
Like when the Porcupine guys like first come out, they say like McLeod, you're gonna die, and it's kind of like warriors come out to play, like little things like that kind of nod to other movies.
What do you got, Mario? What other notes do you
I
have?
don't have any fucking. I didn't write any notes for this movie. I'm telling you, man. Yeah, it just
These movies are hardly worth
What is there to
notes.
say?
Yeah,
took a lot of notes.
it's just so many. Again, it's like it's hard to identify what it is. A comedy movie, a sci-fi movie, I don't know, romantic movie. Like it's just very hard to identify. And like if I was to like, this is definitely like, and you think, oh, should I watch the first one to get into this one? You kind of don't have to because it doesn't fucking matter.
Absolutely
like,
not.
Connery's back, sure. You know, it's like what the fuck. It's like they're two totally separate movies. I wouldn't even call it Highlander 2.
Yeah.
I would call it Highlander the Quickening. It's just another Highlander movie, maybe they're like soft reboot, something like that, kind of like what they do with the Marvel movies. You know, they all get remade at some point.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna get a new Iron Man at some point. And it's
Honestly,
just
if you look at it through that lens as like a soft reboot, like that's a better way to pitch this movie to people than to be like, this is a sequel.
But it's a great concept to see, like, oh, what's McLeod been doing? Seeing McLeod get old is an interesting concept, and it's kind of cool to see until he starts talking.
And then it's gone.
But yeah, it's like
I just great until you open your mouth.
Is that Steve-O in Jackass makeup? You know, like that's what you think. Like when he's got the old
dirty
guy
grandpa.
Like it's like you know who wrote this? It's like I feel like three people ripped the bong and said let's put our ideas in this, and like it's like three different movies in one.
Story by Brian Clemens and
Fuck
William
him.
N. Panzer.
And fuck him too.
Fuck those guys.
We got a comic.
What have they worked on?
So Brian Clemens worked on the British TV series The Avengers. And
Is that the basis of the Avengers movie that you guys watched?
yes.
Yeah.
And William Panzer
Which was also
is
wildly loved by you two.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
William Panzer seemed to focus on the Highlander films.
Is it? I think from the Highlander 1 episode, Dylan had talked a lot about Highlander 2 in the Highlander 1 episode, and I distinctly remember you mentioning that Highlander 2 and the Avengers are both on the worst movies of all time.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I can't help but agree.
What's worse, Mario, this or the Avengers?
Oh, I'd much rather watch the Avengers.
Really?
Yeah. I want to see the key, the car with the
tea
tea
maker?
dispenser. I love Ray Fiennes.
Yeah. You know what?
And
that
I'm a
film's
fan.
got a style.
And
But we're about to get to the good parts of this movie, which is that
Yeah.
Connery magically comes back to life, and he just appears in the middle of like a scene from Hamlet, right? Is
Yes.
it Hamlet?
Yeah, it's Hamlet.
He just appears on stage in the middle of the reading of performance of Hamlet.
Has obviously never seen a play before because he has no idea what's going on.
I'm gonna little quiz for you guys.
Yeah.
It wasn't Hamlet, but what title character of a Shakespeare play did Connery play?
Macbeth?
Boom.
Yes. Connery in this is such a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Once
Oh my
he's
God.
like actually legitimately in the movie. Once he that scene where he shows up on the stage had me dying.
Shithead.
Oh, that was great. Shithead.
Well, all right, real quick. Is he better in this or is he better in Avengers?
Oh, he's better than this because
Yeah.
he's likable.
Yes.
That was the whole thing. I mean, Connery's good in Avengers because he's the villain. You're supposed to fucking hate him.
Yeah.
You know?
But he's also kind of unbearable.
But yeah, that's at least controlling the
Connery,
weather and
I think,
shit.
without a doubt, was the star of this movie. Best
Yeah.
acting
Yes.
performance.
It's the most fun.
He lifts this movie significantly every time he's on screen.
Oh,
the
yeah.
second best was the love interest. The
Virginia
Yeah,
Madsen.
She was great.
Virginia Madsen is a delight.
She's also
Nicole,
very beautiful.
she
in
is
this movie.
stunning.
Yes.
Nicole and I watched Candyman recently. Have you guys ever seen Candyman?
No.
Watch Candyman. It is, one, an amazing horror film. Two, a wonderful piece of like social criticism.
That's not the
of,
trucker movie, is it?
No, it's
What am I thinking of?
you say his name 3 times in the mirror or 5 times in the mirror, and he appears and kills you. It's a really, really good film about race and racial injustices and urban decay. The Candyman character was murdered because he had a relationship with a white woman.
Oh.
And so, like, there's stuff like that. It's really good. Candyman is really, really, really good. I
Candyman
definitely
can't, apparently.
You can't,
Oh.
yeah, you can't say his name 5 times and look in the mirror.
I did it once when I was a kid. I didn't die, so you know.
Okay,
Probably
well,
safe.
Maybe you didn't.
Maybe I
it's-
didn't do it right.
Maybe it's 6 times and they changed it for the movie.
Maybe I
so-
am dead, and this is what hell is like. It's just living a normal
and
life.
Connery curious.
I was more of a Beetlejuice guy.
Yeah, both characters you have to say their names multiple times.
That
Going to
new
see
one's
Beetlejuice
pretty damn
Friday.
good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen it yet?
recommend it.
Beetlejuice.
The new one? I'm
going Friday.
It's a lot of fun. I was like, for the long, I put it off for so long. My wife's like, "Let's go see it. You love those movies." I'm like, I'm never on board with like sequels from the '80s. You know,
Yeah,
the Ghostbusters movies were pretty good. Afterlife and the one with
Highlander 2 is the sequels from the 80s.
but.
Yeah.
No,
Highlander 2.
I'm saying if we made a Highlander sequel now, I'd be like, okay, let's go give it a shot. But,
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, no, Beetlejuice is very good. Go check that out. But yeah, I'm shocked they haven't made another Highlander. Like,
Yeah,
A-
well,
a
Henry
reboot-
Cavill was in the was.
They did a show, right?
I was
Like,
gonna
not-
say,
not that long ago.
I watched the first episode of the first Highlander TV show. I didn't watch
what
the
year
whole
was
episode.
The original one, right? Apparently, it was very well received. I haven't seen it, but
me
I
either.
thought
I
about
didn't know it
watching
was
it.
a thing. Yeah.
Highlander the series, 1992.
Oh, that's probably why I don't know. About
But
it.
Connor McLeod appears in the very first episode for like one scene.
So that's
Um,
not that far after this movie, right? When did this movie come out?
91.
91, yeah. So
Oh, so it's okay.
So
Well,
I can't
I'm
believe
talking
that this
like
movie
now,
came out in
like-
Yeah, if this-
'91,
if
and
this-
it still got
2024.
greenlit for a TV show the following year.
if they made a full reboot of Highlander now, and it combined some elements of these two movies to make the story actually make more sense together.
Eliminate the alien stuff entirely.
Yeah,
The immortal, the lore of the first one is pretty tight.
Yeah. I mean, like, the biggest plot hole to me between the two films, forget about the alien stuff, is that if McLeod and Ramirez knew who they were, who knew who each other were, then why the hell didn't they know who each other were in the first movie?
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
So,
That was
like,
one of my biggest problems too.
That part just makes the whole. That's the biggest part that doesn't work for me. But
Ramirez knew to an extent because he was teaching McLeod what was going on, but McLeod had no idea. So, like, were their memories wiped? Like in the first film, I mean, like, but and then all of this is like, oh yeah, they should absolutely know exactly who they are. They were just
we'll
exiled
meet each
20
other
minutes
again
ago.
on Earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab my water real quick.
Yeah,
you
do
guys
your thing.
continue.
Yeah, like, but if you think about the rest, just elementally across the board, every other thing that goes on in these movies, you could just do it so much better now. The acting
Absolutely.
performances would be better. All of the fight scenes would be so much better.
Yes.
All of the editing and the pacing of the fight scenes would be so
CGI.
much better.
Who would you cast?
Oh,
I would do an AI CGI Sean Connery, and I would actually cast him as all 3 main characters and have him fall in love with himself and teach himself how to fight. I think that would be the best interpretation is an AI-generated Sean Connery
see.
as every character in the movie in different costumes.
Connor McLeod.
You know who could play Connor McLeod? Brendan Fraser, and he would be much better at it.
He's too old.
Well, at this point, I guess,
No.
yeah.
Well, you know what? You know what you do?
They kind of look.
If you're doing a
similar-ish,
full-on
but-
reboot, you change the names.
Yeah,
Doesn't have to be Connor
That's
McLeod.
true.
Doesn't have to be Juan Sanchez Ramirez.
It could be Mike McLeod. It's his long-lost cousin. He's the Lowlander.
Connor O'Cloud.
He's from Boston.
He's Mike McLeod, that
Fucking
guy.
Lowlander. Fucking drive my 1996 Highlander.
You cast Bill Burr as him.
Fuck, what are you gonna fucking cut my head off again?
What the fuck's the fucking quickening? Are you fucking shitting me?
You tell me I got to fucking quicken with this guy?
Back when I was a kid, you knew the lights came on. You knew you had to get the quickening. You got home. The quickening you got home. The quickening your father didn't quick your ass with a belt.
Or like in the first one, he's like, "This fucking wrestling match sucks. I'm going to the parking garage. I hope nobody's gonna try and kill me."
But I think if you reboot it now, you don't keep the names, but you cast Lambert as the older mentor character.
No,
He doesn't have the charisma.
No, I don't think he would do well
That's
at
true.
it, but I think
That's
it would
true.
be a good,
It
an
would be a
interesting
good
casting.
older
So the
guy.
only thing I've seen him in besides these, and I discussed this with you, was Tarzan of Greystoke, King of the Apes or something like
Is that
that.
a medieval Tarzan movie?
Greystoke, Tarzan, King of the Apes or something like that. It's a Tarzan movie. He plays Tarzan.
Okay.
Is that better or worse than Tarzan, the Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Wait, what?
we're joking because the name of the movie you're saying sounds like just some absurd film where Tarzan is like in the middle of like Victorian France or something.
Yeah.
Well,
Greystoke.
honestly,
Tarzan led the French
it's
Revolution.
probably
honestly.
like the most realistic Tarzan of its time. It's really good.
Okay.
It's Ian Holm, Andy McDowell, and Christopher Lambert, and it's really good. Like, it sets up that Tarzan is a talented mimic, and that's how he's able to like ingrain himself in with other animals is by mimicking their
Interesting.
tones, and that's how when he's finally discovered as an adult, he's able to pick up language relatively quickly.
I see.
Like like he saves Ian Holmes' character, and then rests him down by the water, and then spits water into his mouth to like resuscitate him.
Nice.
Because he doesn't realize like he can cup his
He's got
hands.
hands,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like
So I think you keep the bad guy from the first movie and you cast Batista.
That would be great.
That'd be good, right?
would be
okay,
very
yeah.
Right?
He's skinny now, so I mean, you could be.
He put the weight back on.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Give him enough
casting.
money.
Yeah.
For McLeod, you could use Paul Rudd. I think it would be a hilarious Connor McLeod.
Actually, I mean, depending on his health, he was in The Mandalorian recently. Clancy Brown, as like that big devil guy, and he was doing action scenes. So he was
Yeah.
in makeup doing action scenes. You could bring back Clancy Brown as the Kurgan. He just
Yeah.
died when he was really old.
Only
Yeah,
if he does
that's
Mr.
true.
Krabs' voice, it'd be fun.
He was in so many things. When I Googled him, I was like, holy shit, he's been like every fucking movie.
What about Timothy Chalamet for McLeod?
That's
Somebody like
bad
that.
choice.
Somebody that's like a
That's already like the golden child anyway.
No, not necessarily that. I just mean like a younger, more like. One of the things that I liked about the dynamic, it felt like they were trying to set up in the first movie, is that you have like the teacher and the student, but you don't necessarily get that vibe completely because I don't think that Lambert's both his performance and his physicality come across as that so much. Like at the beginning of the movie, in the first one, they're like going off to his first battle, but he looks like an older guy that probably should have been through multiple battles by that point in his
Right.
life. Like he's probably supposed to be in like his 30s or something like that.
Yeah.
Or he looks like he's close to his 30s is what I would say. But
Yeah.
in that time, I would imagine if you're in like a tribal kind of
Yeah, the
warfare
kids
kind
at
of
that
system,
time were like
he probably would have
running
should
to-
have been like
to go fight.
16 or 18 or something like that, maybe even younger.
It would have been more like the Northman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if you have someone that's more like that, and then you have like Connery's character be more like in his like 40s or 50s, like you get like a bit more of a
what about
engaging kind of pairing of the characters. I'm just thinking of what you would do in a modern time. But the other thing too is like Lambert would not get casted in this role now.
Today, no.
Absolutely not. Like they just wouldn't go for it, I don't think.
What about for Connery's character, like a Jeffrey Dean Morgan type, like a more rugged kind of like off the cuff badass kind of guy?
I was leaning towards Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill.
I would like Henry Cavill as McLeod, but I'm also thinking
that was what was happening. That's in the reboot that was being.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah,
he was going to be McLeod.
Yeah.
I also like Will Poulter. He's the guy he was.
Oh yeah.
I like him.
Yeah. He'd be good McLeod as well, because I mean
What about
Cavill's
Will Sasso as McLeod?
He's doing a Hulk Hogan impression or something. Let me tell you something, brother. We got to get the quickening done here quick, dude. We got to get back to the Silver Dome, take down Andre the Giant, brother. We'll put him over my head, dude.
It's Will Sasso doing either his Curly from the Three Stooges or Randy Newman. Highlander, quickening, cutting his head off. That's my thing.
Will Sasso.
I even like Alec Baldwin from Ramirez.
Ooh.
I think that'd be cool.
I don't know how Alec Baldwin's career is going to be.
Yeah.
No. I'm trying to think.
Well, there's other Baldwins. Let's just grab one of them.
Yeah, Billy Baldwin.
What I think would
Marky Mark.
Yeah. Marky Mark Baldwin.
I'm trying to think what would make this movie work in current times is you have to have like a somewhat tongue-in-cheek like humor element to it, which I think they tried to go for with the first one. So I think you cast a funny guy in a serious role like a Paul Rudd in something that's supposed to be more serious, because just like their delivery and their demeanor is going to add that comedic element, whereas like they take the role seriously, but the way they deliver the lines and the way they like use their body language about it gives it sort of a comedic touch.
Yeah, I think the thing with Paul Rudd though is like no matter what you put him in, he's Paul Rudd.
Yeah. When he that's true.
Him as Ant-Man.
I was going to say Ant-Man saved the world from ultraviolet radiation.
The dude who just played Duke Atreides in Dune.
Oh, Oscar Isaac.
Yes,
I like him
he
a
would
lot.
be great because he does that like on being a sarcastic douche thing well, where he can kind of be very tongue in cheek, but also serious and more like have a not intimidating presence, but like a serious like I'm not gonna be pushed around kind of guy.
I want him and Pedro Pascal in a movie so bad.
Yeah, they're both great.
They're boys.
And Diego Luna.
And
I see Pedro Pascal would make a lot of sense for Ramirez because he is Spanish.
There you go.
Yeah, he would also be great.
It also implies in the first movie, I believe he says, like, he's been around for so long that he's just taken on names from different cultures.
He said at one point...
He's Egyptian.
Yeah, he's Egyptian, but he's from Spain, which I used to work for a guy...
he has incredible eyeliner.
He does. I used to work for an Egyptian Greek guy at a pizza place, and he was a character, I'll say that. He was a lot of fun.
Okay, real quick. Speaking of characters, eyeliner, and our previous reference to the globe there. Remember when Connery's like, the time to act is now, when he smashes right through it? Did anyone see Haley Joel Osment's depiction of J.D. Vance?
No.
It's so good. He goes into the donut shop and he's like, he has a panic attack and he just puts his hand right through the donut and takes it and he starts eating it and it's got the glass shards in it. It's amazing. Anyway.
That's great. I'm going to have to Google that.
Just that you don't even see it get just smashed.
So
which is the same with Connor. You don't see him do it. The time to act is now. It's like, dude, my globe.
My globe.
So with Connor, we talked about this a little bit before, but my favorite part of this movie is the sequence where he goes and gets the suit.
Yeah,
It's just so cool to see Connery getting measured up, drinking whiskey, smoking a cigar, like shooting the shit with the proper Englishman.
I could have seen actually like the full real-time version of that. Like just to watch it happen. Like if it took him 3 hours to get fitted for a suit, I'd watch all 3 hours of the footage.
That would be an ASMR video today.
Like
Sean Connery gets fitted for a suit
like
by relaxing British tailor.
But like
Scottish tailor.
You can just see him actually enjoying doing those scenes.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, like this is actually something I might enjoy doing, like getting a nice suit.
You probably got to keep that too.
Smoking a cigar.
Probably.
I guarantee he's actually drinking whiskey.
Oh,
out
sure.
of those cups.
Well, I looked at the behind the scenes. He only did like 9 days of shooting.
Makes
So
sense.
he's not in this movie for very long.
Yeah, he does.
And the majority of
4 scenes.
Yeah, the majority of this movie, he spends traveling to McLeod.
Yeah, and then he has like 2 to 3 minutes of screen time with McLeod, basically.
He's got
like,
5 scenes. He shows up at the play.
Yeah.
He goes to the store, or he walks he sees himself in the screens, and he goes to the store. He's on the plane. He's in McLeod's apartment, and then they're breaking into the complex.
And he's also
That's
got
it.
2 short scenes on the planet Zeist or far in the
Oh,
past.
yeah, my
depending
bad.
on
So
which-
6
which
scenes.
cut.
Yeah, so he could have
Yeah.
done that in 9 days, no problem.
So
And
in the
he-
Renegade cut, I felt like it took him forever to get to the U.S. And
Yes.
I was like, this is what made me question, like, where in the U.S. does this take place?
Yeah.
Because I was like...
Gotham.
Yeah, I know, Gotham. Because I was like...
That's the problem, Chief. We got to find this fictional town.
A flight at any point in history from Scotland to New York City could not take that long. Like, it takes him, like, what feels like 3 days to get there. Almost. And like in the Renegade cut,
layovers.
One thing, yeah, I know, right?
In the middle of the ocean.
I had to get a hotel room. I was introduced to what hotels are.
In the Renegade cut, one thing I liked that doesn't make sense at all in the theatrical cut is that there's the fight between Katana and McLeod where he, at the end, they cut the elevator cable and he drops down
and
to
he
the bottom.
breaks his neck back and whatnot. That was fun.
But then he runs off and he goes back to his house.
Yeah.
In the Renegade cut, and there's the second scene, and that's when Connery shows up.
Yeah.
In the theatrical cut, that's all just one long fight that happens at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And like they're in 2 completely separate locations with different sets of clothes and different swords in one long fight scene.
But because of the dark lighting and the fact that you're already so confused about what's going on,
just
you
kinda
don't
works.
notice it
Yeah.
anyway.
Wasn't the Connery scene? Did that come before the fight scene in the theatrical cut?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in the theatrical cut, it goes from.
He fights Katana, then goes back to his house.
No, he never fights Katana before Connery shows up in the theatrical cut. I think he meets Katana and goes back to his house, but they don't fight that first time.
Yeah.
Like he meets Katana.
He meets him at the church.
At the church.
When they don't fight
Can
on
we
holy
talk about
ground.
that scene for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
Remember, we can't fight on holy ground. Like, okay, was that implied in the first movie?
Yeah,
Was that
in the
okay.
first
explicit.
film, it's explicitly said, I think by Connery to him that they
That's the
cannot
only
fight.
rule.
The only rule is that they cannot fight on holy ground,
And
and that's
that's-
why he meets the Kurgan in the church.
Yes, and yes. So, that's kept in the theatrical cut, which means that Jesus has reached Zeist.
Yes.
The people on
Yes.
Zeist are familiar with the word of the Lord.
Or more specifically, the only religious place that the Zeist people seem to accept is a Catholic church.
Yeah.
They could go to
Or
any
They
religious...
could go to a synagogue fighting totally okay there.
Or they're very gullible, and before Ironside walked in, someone's like, holy place. He's like, oh, okay, I got it. He walks into a Burger King, he's like, holy place. Oh, yep, you got it. You got it.
I worship at the
Well, do
altar
it
of
Wendy's.
grilled meat.
Yeah.
Waffle
What?
House.
They eat Wendy's in the movie.
Do they?
Yes, the scene where Connery shows up, and then he looks out the window, and he's like, what is this bullshit you made? If you look on the table, they're eating Wendy's.
Really?
Yes.
Oh
Product
my God.
placement.
Punch that in, Dylan.
They're eating Wendy's.
They must have got the Krabby Patty collab meal. What is this?
I like that scene where once Connery and McLeod are reunited, that is when the film is lifted entirely. Like
Yeah.
their chemistry is everything.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Like, careful. Why? Like the statues. Like, you call that a statue? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's clearly like a column with Coke bottles in it or something.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, it
practice
was hard to
is
even
everything.
identify what he was
What
talking
practice or no experience is everything. What
What
experience? You've been dead for 500 years.
Yeah, they're back and forth. Like
Yeah.
he sees Virginia Madsen, and he's like, "Oh, things have only gotten better. Some things have got better over time." Oh, that was my in Candyman. She's naked in Candyman. So
Oh, wonderful.
you want to see all of
It took a long
Virginia's
time to make that
Madsen's-
point.
Well, we get carried away in this podcast. But
Oh,
if you
I'm
want to
really
see
funny.
Virginia's Madsens, you can see him in Candyman.
like
you
that.
want to see Virginia's Candymans.
So there's one scene that has happened between these things that we do need to talk about.
Yes.
Because it's the most absurd scene in the film, I think.
Which one?
Which is Kitano landing on the train.
Oh my
And then,
God.
Then he slowly works his way to the front of the train in the character of Jim Carrey as the Grinch.
Yep.
Like just making puns and messing
Picks the
with
kid
people.
up.
Bet you've always wanted to drive one of these, huh? Me too.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, it's just like straight up.
That it's the mask.
Yeah, like it's straight up Jim Carrey.
I thought he was gonna take him up to the front and like, kill the driver. Be like, all right, you're driving now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the kid was gonna freaking drive. I loved like the Back to the Future, the speedometer going up to like fucking
700 or 800.
like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what? Like how did that train go that fast?
He almost breaks the sound barrier.
I was gonna say.
The dude's face with the eyes bulging out.
So, but this is also a distinct difference between the theatrical cut and the Renegade cut. The Renegade cut is pretty gory.
Yeah.
In
Yes.
the train scene, where people like, for some reason, like, there's so much G-force being generated that the seats are ripping out of the train.
People are splatting against the wall.
Yes.
That's actually where they got the footage for the safety video in the plane.
They're both tube-shaped transportation.
Especially the part where the clearly toy plane crashes into the mountain, and then there's a very distinct cut to a mountain on fire. So, like, yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Also, real quick, another thing that is on television
Yes.
is Psychic Cook. Would
Yes,
anyone
the
else
Psychic
watch
Cook,
Psychic
yes.
Cook?
That was great.
Oh my god.
Perfect for Halloween.
Yeah, just incredible stuff. But like, yeah, the safety video, the Psychic Cook, all of the deaths in the train, and the cartoon bad guys at the beginning are what solidly put this in the category to me of a B movie. Like, I think
I'm
even
with
though
you.
there's way too much money invested into this, and like too big of production houses associated with it to be like a true B movie, I think like this could be on best of the worst.
Yeah.
Like straight up, like
I'm curious to see where
it's
everybody's ratings are
it's
going to fall.
pretty bad. Like from a production standpoint.
Hell, I love how the news works in that. Like in both cuts, when he's in his Porsche, the TV just goes on in the car, which is a cool concept. Cool, it's the future. We have TVs in our car, but it's like, you know, breaking news. Like it comes on
This
by
is
itself.
inconvenient.
Like, you know, like he's like
Live
imagine
TV.
like you're driving and all of a sudden the TV just comes on, like breaking
Give
news.
you a heart attack.
And it's not even fucking like big news, like, oh, new county fair coming downtown this week. And I'm like, shit, man, trying to fucking drive home.
Local
here.
firefighter rescues cat from tree. You know?
Well, I've got the county fair is this weekend. I must get there. I have no time to worry about your terrorist acts.
Terrorism is not a good business to be in.
But you know what is a good business? The county fair.
Running the Shield is good business, apparently. I'm not understanding the mechanism of how they make money on the Shield.
by
but sure.
selling the technology.
Extortion.
Yeah.
No, I think it's
extort-
just straight up extortion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just-
or they're
They
like,
say,
pay us to keep it.
We'll turn it off if you don't pay us
Yeah.
and
Oh, I
kill
see.
everyone.
But I like the conceit there that the ozone layer has repaired itself over time, and that
Which actually happened in the real world. Like, remember how there was like a big crisis over the ozone layer in like the 90s, 2000s? Like, people actually banded together and made the specific chemicals in, like, you know, aerosols that were causing ozone issues illegal in most countries in the world. And scientists really did save the world from the ozone layer being destroyed because we made regulatory changes to the requirements for those types of chemicals.
Shit.
And it did not take a shield being sent over the Earth.
it was
So-
called the McLeod Law.
Yeah, the McLeod Law.
Do
yeah.
that in the Highlander reboot.
Somebody saw Highlander
Yeah.
2 and was
Holy
like
shit.
taking it way too serious, and was like, I don't want this to ever happen, and started the campaign to stop ozone destroying chemicals.
I'm really not really that concerned about the planet. I just don't want aliens coming back to fight me with swords. And if I fix the planet, that probably won't happen.
Yeah. I don't want Dr. Perry Cox shooting me dead in the middle of a meeting.
Oh, I think you'll find the costume parade is in the building next door.
Somebody shoot this guy.
You should say that to every single trick-or-treater that comes to your house.
Okay, so on things that should be said repeatedly, I spoke to my grandmother recently, and I love my grandmother, but she has trouble relating to us young folks. She doesn't use the internet at all, and
oh, good, just she'll never see this.
exactly. And we're chatting on the phone, and then the line kind of just goes quiet. And she goes, "You know, Garth Brooks is leaving Las Vegas." And I go, "What? Excuse me?" And she just elaborates like he had a residency there, and it was so random. I just go, "Grammy, you should use that as like a conversation piece. Like, oh, how was that new restaurant? It was good. It was no Garth Brooks."
It was no Garth Brooks.
Oh my goodness.
Also, Dylan, did you know that Sean Connery died?
Yeah, he's no Garth Brooks though.
4 years ago.
Pretty sad about it, but there's no Garth Brooks.
Oh my goodness.
These movies needed a lot more Sean Connery, and they might have benefited from a little bit of Garth Brooks too, but mostly more Sean Connery.
Tremendous.
That was my overall thing with these movies: is Connery needed to be in it more.
Yes,
and maybe it's because like I went into these with very little idea of what was like. What I was about to see, and I was expecting a lot more Connery than I got.
He may have saved the score for me of the movie, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But like, I think that's the only thing that saved it for me because again, watching the second cut of it, I'm like, oh, I can't wait till Connery shows up again because I want to. Is there more to the suit scene? Is there more to this? Is there extended scenes? But not really. But yeah, he's the best part of the movie. Truly, he really is, man. And it's
most of the other performances fall flat.
Yeah.
Can we talk about his death?
Yeah, I was gonna say we should talk through that sequence basically
and how it's completely unnecessary.
And very uneventful. It just kind of happens.
Well, not only that, but like where does he all like this again? This comes back to the what is the quickening thing?
Yeah, it's the Force.
Apparently it's just like they have magic they can use.
A kind of magic.
Yeah, because they put their hands in a honey pot and like they can now all of a sudden.
That sounded dirty.
It did.
Winnie the Pooh,
when they were inventing the room that they almost died in, and that Connery's character died in, it's like somebody was like, "What is the slowest moving death machine I could think of? It's the slowest fan in the universe. We'll give them lots of time to get out if they need to."
This is post Star Wars.
Yes,
right?
it's so Star Wars. The Empire designed that room.
It's absolutely is. All right. We want the trash compactor scene.
Exactly.
But we don't want to use a trash compactor.
But that's what
somebody
kills
already
him?
did that.
It's
it's a fan, and it's
does the fan actually kill him, or does he just like materialize back into magic?
Yeah, I think it's like he's crushed.
Well, like what got me is that like
shit,
he was holding the thing up so they could leave, but it was moving so slow that he could have moved his hand and walked calmly out the door with them.
And there's no logic to it because they enter the room. Connery sees the door shut and he goes, "Don't let the door shut behind you." And in the theatrical cut, we get the line like it's password protected or passcode.
Yeah,
she's like, "We need the passcode."
Yeah,
yeah, and they're banging on the keypad. That's right there.
And then as the fan's coming down, the door just opens.
Yeah,
I think the door doesn't open until he pushes the fan back up. So I would assume that whatever spiritual mumbo jumbo magic thing he's doing also opens the door.
Yeah.
Do you think it's more like a turn signal situation? Like, you know, you turn your steering wheel and the turn signal automatically comes off.
Yeah.
Like when the fan comes down, it hits a little switch and locks the doors. And then when it goes back above that point in the room, it automatically unlocks the doors.
It could be. It's a good idea. I mean,
his speech as he is doing it is good. He's
yes.
like, most people go their whole lives not doing anything, but then if you
I don't agree with the sentiment of what he says.
All.
No.
He's basically like, it's okay to kill yourself if you're doing something cool.
Yeah, and you could be a loser your whole life, but if the last thing you do is important, that's all that matters.
Yeah, every single school shooter Listen to that. That speech
right.
Oh, no.
right before they
Turns
go
out the
to,
last thing they did was the most impactful thing. Oh no!
Or
like,
you know,
well, like it kind of, unfortunately, that kind of is the sentiment. And
Yeah.
again, I think this is another trope of bad sci-fi movies is that there's like some guy who's like, I got the best idea. This idea.
It caters to the idea that it caters to the mind that hasn't experienced as much of the emotional spectrum or of life's
film.
experiences.
Like you're not
Student
supposed
film.
to read that far into it. Like I don't think they thought that far into it.
Well,
when they
here's
were
the problem
writing
with that, though, is their movie is incredibly ambiguous and doesn't explain itself. So therefore, they want you to read into it, right? Because that's what happens when you leave things incredibly vague.
That is,
you're
but-
assuming that the audience is going to take the effort to try and figure out what the hell you're saying. So if you want to do that, you need to say things that are meaningful. Like Kubrick does that well. Because Kubrick makes good movies.
Yeah.
Or like Christopher Nolan does that well.
Like you said,
Kubrick's
Tarantino
Highlander
does
too.
that well.
you hit the nail on the head. Kubrick makes good movies. These guys didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Yeah,
you know.
But I mean, it's important though when you're thinking about like if you have a script like this that has this ambiguous stuff in it, it raises the bar of execution that you have to accomplish. Someone, undoubtedly, a director out there, could make a version of this exact movie that is better.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right? Like they could make it better. Could it be a great movie? Probably. Like this, I don't know if there's any version of this movie that could exist with the same pieces that would be a fantastic movie. It could be executed a hell of a lot better though, which would make it a lot more bearable.
Agreed. The four of us should make this movie. We got to convince somebody
Nope.
to give us $4 million.
I ain't got no time for that. Not for this fucking
Dude,
dog
Sean Connery
pile
did
of
9
shit.
days of work and got a $3 million check. I'm going to retire if
You
that's
ain't
the case.
you ain't Sean Connery, bro.
Sean Connery's sitting right next to you. He's the grandpa from Indiana Jones, for fuck's sake.
So another thing in that death scene is when he finally summons the power. When it finally happens, it's basically, I summon the power of Scotland. Yeah, and
That was the funniest shit, dude.
So that was
Oh my god, the
Amazing
bagpipes.
Grace.
That was a note that I had.
That was a note I had as well too. For the Egyptian Spanish man, they play bagpipes.
I
during
was
his
further
death scene.
reinforcing that this guy should be fucking Scottish.
Exactly.
Like, why could he not have been somebody else from the
'Cause
McLeod clan
that's like
in
his
the very
fucking-
beginning?
Well,
That's like
but
his
he is
wrestling
though, right?
theme song,
he's
man. That's like that's the music that like in his contract. Like you must play that
You
for
must.
every time
That's
I show
my
up.
entrance music.
And it's Amazing Grace.
By a live
They're playing
bagpipe player.
Amazing Grace on the bagpipe.
Yeah, so a random bagpipe dude shows up underneath the fan as well. Ghost bagpiper.
Gets crushed.
Yeah, he does too.
I like to think that John C. McGinley's character has a bagpiper on standby in the corporate offices. You know? It's like some guy sitting in the break room just on the couch staring at the wall until he gets a little red light turns on in the room and he's like, oh, time to go. And he grabs his bagpipe.
Shoots him once a week.
Yeah, every week he walks in. Well, it's Tuesday. Pow! Ah!
Yeah, it really bothered me that it was bagpipes. 'Cause I was just like, this makes
It
no
made me
sense.
laugh every
Just
time.
canonically, this makes no sense in this movie
None
at all.
whatsoever.
The
I was like,
funniest shit.
are bagpipes incredibly popular on Zeist?
Like a-
Random.
Yes, the Zeistian bagpipes.
Like imagine if they fucking played that shit when Tony Stark was gonna go fucking snap Thanos. But you know, one thing I would have changed about that scene, though, in the Renegade cut is when Conor McGregor. That would have been
That
better.
would be an interesting cut.
You mean Connery McLeod?
Connery McLeod. When McLeod says, "Will I ever see you again?" It's like, you know, what's he say back to him? Like, maybe you never know.
Yeah, no one knows. Who knows? Wink.
In my version, I would have said, "Fuck no, shithead." And they would have fucking died.
Wonderful.
Dear shithead.
Absolutely
That would've been
wonderful.
Because I wanted him to say shithead one more time.
Well, in that same respect, at the end of the movie, when he kills Katana, why doesn't he just bring her back again? Right?
Right?
Because
Yeah.
then they both be immortal.
Well,
they
there's-
said that they need the energy of two people to turn off the shield. Then he gets Connery back again.
Yeah.
He shows up in the same place because it's the place that he died.
And in
Like, what?
in the Renegade cut, he says you'll need the power of the two of you to turn off the shield. She doesn't do anything. He steps
he
inside.
does,
he
yeah.
means Katana. He means that he needs to kill Katana and
take his power
and take all of his juice, lap it up, and then he.
I love that he steps inside the machine rather than switch it off.
Yeah.
No, it's because they say there's not enough power on the planet to turn off the shield.
Which makes no sense.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
So what I think he does is he shorts out. He steps in to become a conduit to short out all of the power that's going into the shield. So
but see, that makes as much sense as I don't have enough power to turn off these lights.
So, well, yeah, you don't have enough power to turn off the lights. So you're going to, like, use your body as a conduit and short out the entire thing.
Yeah.
So, but you don't die, even though you're now also not immortal anymore because you just killed the last guy. So that means you're not immortal anymore.
So this is reminding me, tied in with the concept of the quickening, using your body as a conduit. I saw Megalopolis last week. You guys know about that film?
Yeah,
I've heard the name.
Well.
It's Coppola's new movie.
Okay.
You said you liked it though, right?
I did.
I say I've heard a lot.
I
of,
did like it.
Rough reviews.
It's not great, but it is amazing.
It's not great, but it's amazing.
If you see it,
put down the poster. Yeah, right.
If you see it, you'll. It's not great, but it's amazing.
It's not great.
That's us when we watch.
It's just amazing. It's like an 8-sided star with a question mark.
That's literally our review of Sword of Valiant. It's not great, but it's amazing. That's our favorite.
Yeah,
that's
Zardoz as well too.
We love Zardoz.
Yeah.
We love Zardoz.
We love Zardoz. Hear it? That no one looks at the Zardoz. No one's looking at Zardoz.
No one's ever seen the Zardoz.
Not like our
The penis
Zardoz.
is bad. The penis is bad.
The guns are good. I think
all guns are great.
Fact of life: guns are good. Penis evil.
Evil.
I can't do a good Trump. But
you got the pacing down.
In Megalopolis, there's a line. There's a montage of like work being done productively. You know, like everyone's in the groove of work being done, and like you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like you and I would be staring at a piece of paper and going, "What if this was this?" And you, yes,
Yeah.
And so it's that exact scene where Adam Driver and another actor are looking at blueprints, and Adam Driver goes, the line is, what if the same thing, what if the thing that holds the power is the same thing that carries the power? and the other guy goes, good. Something like that. I'm
Johnson,
paraphrasing.
get on it.
But it also it's got connections to the quickening because we're asking, like, what the fuck is the quickening? It's like this nebulous whatever the story needs it to be.
Yeah.
That's the same in Megalopolis. Adam Driver's character has invented an element called the Megalon. And it's not clear what it does. It can build buildings. It can make dresses. His wife lives inside of it. His dead wife lives inside of the spirit of the Megalon. It's
I hate
fucking
this
weird.
so much.
Me
I already
too.
don't like it.
But honestly, I think, especially given our school background, I think you'd like the film.
Yeah, it sounds like. I mean, it's probably well made, right?
Aubrey Plaza plays a character named Wow Platinum, who
I love it. I'm in,
seduces Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf.
That's it.
Yes.
Shia LaBeouf as McLeod.
Ooh.
There you go.
Okay. But
Just do it.
She's Zendaya as the love interest.
She seduces
She's in everything now.
Yes.
She seduces Shia LaBeouf by like asking. She's like, "Does my outfit make me look good?" And he goes, "Yes, wow." And she goes, "Yes, Auntie Wow." And she's, "Yes, Auntie Wow." And then she like mounts his face and is like fucking his face. And he's like, yes, Auntie Wow, yes, Auntie Wow. and the whole time I'm watching it like Francis Ford Coppola. I'm not complaining because Aubrey Plaza is gorgeous, but Francis Ford Coppola put $120 million of his own money into this movie. And this was a scene that he's like, yeah, that goes in this movie.
Well, that's how bad he wanted to see Aubrey Plaza's bare ass is probably the situation.
John Voight spanks her. She like gladly puts her butt up to the There's a scene in this movie where John Voight is in a bed and Shia LaBeouf and Aubrey Plaza come in and John Voight is like this and he goes, "What do you think of this boner I got?" That's a real line from the movie.
Wonderful.
That is a real. I didn't even paraphrase that line. That's the line.
That
What do you
feels like-
think of this boner I got?
That
How
feels
old
like it
is
could be a
John
line
Voight?
in Highlander
I
too.
don't know. In his 80s.
That could be great.
One might say Francis Ford Coppola is living through John Voight in this film.
All right.
Oh, there were stories of Coppola like touching boobs on the set and whatnot.
The more I hear about this, the more I think Aubrey Plaza as Connor McLeod would be
There
great.
we go.
Because she would just bring a great, sarcastic
What better way to
element
bring this to
it.
2024 than to switch the gender
Yeah.
roles in the film?
Let's go.
There we
You're
go.
telling me I'm immortal?
That would make it a 10 out of 10.
Just deadpan face the entire movie.
Yeah.
That would
God,
be
I gotta
similar
live
to the way
again.
that Lambert played the movie.
Well, I guess I gotta go shut down the shield or whatever. I'll be back. Or at the end, he's like, "You'll need the power of both of you." She's like, "Why don't I just unplug it from the wall?" And then she shuts the shield off by unplugging it, and then the movie ends.
So, speaking of the end of this movie, like obviously there's the big fight scene, which big fight scenes like this to me, like unless they're incredible, like don't.
There's no
There's no
stakes.
stakes.
For this, yeah.
Like you know what's gonna
It's
happen.
not a Star
Yeah.
Wars duel.
Yeah, so like, it didn't really speak to me that much. I was kind of just like, all right, whatever. Like, let's just get through this.
Get over it. Yeah.
But I can't help but feel like the ending was like kind of anticlimactic.
For sure, in
Yeah.
both of them.
Yeah, like I would have loved to see like even like a shitty like text on the screen to wrap up
Like
like
an
what
epilogue
happens to the Earth
kind of thing.
Yeah,
Well, like you said earlier,
or-
like you said, one shot of a clear blue sky. That's literally how the last movie ends, with a clear blue sky.
yeah,
Like,
just something.
You could have gone back to the lady in the bar who threw the bottle at him.
Yeah,
And
looking up at the sky
She
with
looks
a
up at the
smile
sky
on
and she
her
goes,
face.
"That motherfucker did it," or something like that. You know?
I like him. I take that back.
Yeah.
She's harassing someone else with a bottle.
Which actually reminds me of one note that I had. So there was at one point where the love interest character, she goes, "What happened to the McLeod everyone believed in?" And my thought was, dude, I have no idea. I never met this McLeod that everyone believed in that you're talking about. He was not
it's
in
a
this
great
film
point.
Yeah.
at all. At all. He was
Yeah.
not in this film.
And the one scene from 1999 of them turning the shield on
Yes.
gives no. He's in a room with other scientists.
Him
that,
And you're supposed to be like, well, I guess everybody
Him
believed in
turning
him.
around, putting the goggles on, it was so funny to me.
oh yeah, because he's looking away, and then he
Yeah.
takes the goggles off, and he looks towards the
Yeah.
window where the shield is going to be.
Yeah.
It's like Trump looking up at the sun without his fucking.
Yeah, he does. It's like they filmed it like in reverse or something.
Do you think the rest of the city had eye protection?
When that happened?
Like, you think they're like sitting there like it's a big thing when it hit this beam and it's like fucking ram dudes and fucking queens like,
Like in Diamonds Are Forever?
yeah.
Most of the people
catching
in that
fire.
building with him didn't have eye protection. Most of the other scientists didn't have eye protection.
Yeah, so like there's like
Oh.
it just for fun, like I don't understand.
Did you guys like the blue shield more or the orange shield more? You guys notice that in one movie it was blue and one it was
Yeah, I think
like
the
orange or
blue
red?
the blue is a little more pleasing.
I thought when, like, specifically with, like, the shot of the plane and, like, some of the other shots, it literally looked like somebody, like, threw the footage into Premiere and was, like, red filter. And that was the whole idea of what
Well,
the
speaking
Earth
of
looks like.
blue and orange, how did you guys like what in the Renegade cut only was the truck fight scene that takes place in a clearly orange desert that they have color graded
Yes.
to be completely fucking blue?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I don't even remember what scene
in
this
the
is now.
Renegade.
They as they're escaping in a Jeep, they run over Ironside,
Yes,
but then
yes,
he like
yes,
climbs
yes.
out from
Yeah,
like
it's
he's,
when
like
they're
he's
when they're
the
going to climb
T-1000.
up to the thing.
Yeah.
There's some weird stuff in that whole section.
And that was clearly an
in
added
the theatrical cut. Do they ever do that scene? Do they
No.
ever?
No.
They never go
No.
up and like go above the ozone layer.
So it's
right?
like you were saying, like, it went kind of from meeting up with Connery's character to them all going together and doing the fight scene, and that was
Yeah.
just kind of the end of the movie. Like, most
Yeah,
of the ending didn't exist.
yeah, it's so weird.
So-
I was just gonna. I greatly preferred the orange fucking shield thing.
because you like oranges rather than blueberries.
No, because I thought it was just way more fucking annoying, and like if you have a blue thing that you're looking up at all the time, it kind of simulates the blue sky.
Yeah, and there's no
Whereas
orange
if you're
sky.
looking up and it's orange just 24/7, it's incredibly unnatural.
Oh, yeah.
You look and be like,
Right?
oh, that's orange. That reminds me. I got to hit up the oxygen machine on my way home from work.
Yeah, like exactly.
Yeah, it makes
But-
makes it more miserable.
But apparently the intention, all the stuff we see in the Renegade cut is closer to what the director originally intended for the film to be. So the intention was for it to always be blue, which doesn't make sense. I don't know. There's certain things in the theatrical cut that I'm kind of like, they might have got some of the artists out of the room like you were talking about before, but it seems like they figured out how to just like execute more basic premise kind of stuff better.
Just streamline it, cut the fat,
Yeah,
get the story,
get it
to
done.
That's
where-
what they did to get it done. Because like there's I was reading about this because it was so interesting to me. Like I work in the financial industry, so sometimes these things are like somewhat interesting for me to read about. There's a company that issues like a bond, kind of like an insurance policy. So like if there's $34 million of your money invested into a movie, you want to be sure that the movie is finished, right?
Yeah.
So they hire out this company to issue a bond because like you can't go to fucking MetLife and get movie finished insurance, and they guarantee for X amount of money we'll get the movie done. And they act like an insurance company. If you've ever dealt with a car insurance company, they're like, we give you the bare minimum.
It's the premise of the producers.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like the producers is basically like, we just need to make something and finish it. And like, it's actually more lucrative to make something and finish it and for it to not be successful than to make something and finish it and have it be successful.
Exactly. Because if it doesn't get done, we're on the hook to pay back the investors. That's why the investors do it. They say this is like an insurance policy. So if the movie sucks, at least we get our money back out of this. And so they're like, well, shit, we don't want to pay $34 million. The whole economy of this country is collapsing right now. Let's just get this turd on paper and get it out the door so we have a movie. And so they basically just trimmed all of the fat that they could possibly trim to make some sort of semblance of a cohesive movie and produce it.
Yeah.
I've got a few more notes here, and I'll thank you for getting into that too, because film financing stuff is really interesting. There's actually a book I've been trying to find called "A Bond for Bond." It's really hard to find book, but it's about that entire process
that's cool.
and how they secured the financial bond to produce Dr. No.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And because that movie was produced on a budget of $1 million.
That's great. I'm going to Google that. A bond for bond.
Yes. So I've got a few notes here. And then a lot of these we've covered, but I just want to just kind of wrap them up. So the whole breaking into Max scene feels like The Rock. The president dies at the most convenient time, right as McLeod finds him.
Yep.
And we did a good thing.
We did a good thing.
Perfect timing. McLeod should have been like, you couldn't have died at a better time. McLeod saying "holy shit" feels really weird.
That was great to me when the thing starts coming down, the fan, and he looks up, he's like, holy shit! And I was just like, this is amazing.
And in the
Similar to
background,
when you're in a taxi and a man sticks a sword through the front windshield.
holy fucking shit!
You must be in the
Holy
music industry.
Yeah, compare tattoos.
we needed that guy in the fans.
He would have held the fan up.
The power of my sister's tattoos. And in that scene, Virginia Madsen is doing her best R2-D2 impression.
Yes.
Where she's frantically hitting at door panels trying to get the door open.
Beeping and buzzing.
Exactly. Okay, I want to talk about my favorite scene in the movie. Actually, one more line. I'm sorry, real quick. John C. McGinley says, you're a traitor and we've got a special place for traitors.
Oh, yeah.
And my brain went, Trader Joe's. But my favorite scene in the movie is them driving into Max and getting shot.
That shit was awesome.
Hit it, dude.
I'm telling you, way more intense in the original cut because of that fucking music, man.
It's got the heavy metal in both cuts.
That's a different song.
Oh, okay.
Because like it's silent when they're driving, and it's like, all right, we're gonna do this, whatever. In the other cut, it's like it sounds like a fucking like Drive 55 or some shit, like some Vanguard thing.
And
but
the
this one's
squibs
like
are great.
Yeah, but this other one's like it's like louder. It's like a cool riff, and I looked it up. I think it's called Who's That Guy or something like that. I forgot the name of the band, but it's on
The Renegade Cup
Highlander.
has some really cool music in it.
Yeah, there was some cool stuff. But
The
I was
music
like, that one
in that
scene.
scene also covered up the fact that they fired 500 bullets into the car, and not a single one of them made it into the trunk to hit the girl.
Yeah, man.
So here's a funny thing. So on IMDb, there's a section called Goofs, or like in the trivia section, there's now like a bunch of different sections.
Yeah.
And one of them is like misattributed items or something like that, where it's basically like a criticism that they then prove is not
I
true.
see.
And one of the ones is like 500 bullets go into this car and none of them hit the girl in the trunk. And they basically said this is accurate. If you look at the car, there's no damage on the trunk. Or so they're basically trying to say like, yeah, that's exactly what would have happened. Like, clearly the filmmakers intended it to be this way, and nothing would have happened.
I mean, you can make some like plausible sense of it because, like, okay, they're shooting at the people driving the car. In,
but if you watch the trajectory of the
silly.
vehicle, right, it goes through the gate, and then it drives straight across. All of the people are standing by the gate, and it crashes into something facing away from the gate. So everyone is then going to be pointing towards the back of the car, shooting at the front of the car. The odds of 0 bullets going towards the trunk and hitting it. Also, if you watch it, when the car crashes, the trunk opens.
Oh my God! Yeah, punch it in, Dylan.
Yeah, if you watch it.
Well, in the theatrical, in the Renegade, I only just finished it like earlier today, so I remember distinctly. They open the trunk.
No, I think in both cuts they open the trunk and find her, but as it like just in the process, it's a continuity error.
Yeah.
But like in the process of it crashing, the trunk opens. So it's like, and also, why the fuck is she in the trunk?
Yeah, she has no business being there.
She's there to sneak in. Because remember, she's like, oh, they kidnapped me.
Yeah, she has.
And then the doctor takes them all to the room, and then they wake up and like punch out the doctor.
She's broken into there before in the beginning of the movie.
What the fuck is the doctor's name? The good old Southern boy?
I've got it right here. It is Dr. Sonny Jackson.
Dr. Sonny Jackson.
What were you just about to say,
Hello,
though?
ma'am.
No, I'm just like, so if they can't die from bullets, why did Connery die from a fan?
You get decapitated by the fan.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be like because he's
think
holding it up and it's like right above his head.
This is the thing though, is that I don't think he dies from the fan. I think he dies because he
uses too much
used
quickening.
too much spiritual mumbo jumbo to hold the fan up in the air.
He quickened himself to death.
He quicked all over his pants and
he quickened his ass right out of existence.
So stupid.
That's the slowening, actually. When you quicken so much that you die.
Well, all right, so I've got some more. So, holy squibs. Holy fucking squibs in that scene. That is an amazing squib scene.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the best scenes in the movie.
We've got Dr. Sonny Jackson.
Larry!
I love they took over almost 100 bullets, and the way they set up 108 actually. Their chemistry in that scene is like 112. You're counting that little scratch. It's like it went through. Like that, I love
Ruined
that.
a perfectly good shirt.
Exactly. Well, I that's my next note. So I love that little interaction. But then on the other side of the curtain, you hear them continue the interaction. Connery says,
And just look at my splendid waistcoat.
just look at my splendid waistcoat. And I don't know why, but when he said that, just look at my splendid waistcoat, my brain went, and what is the charge for eating a meal, a succulent Chinese meal?
That guy just died.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
Rest in peace. I hope you're eating all the succulent Chinese meals that you could want.
He's touching my testicles.
I see you know your get your hands off of my penis. I see you know your judo well. But that line just reminded me of that guy. Just look at my
knowing your way around a penis.
Alrighty.
Katana just giving.
Oh my god! Yeah, grabbing his Dr. Cox and throwing him out the window.
Oh.
Yeah.
The penis is the best way to throw someone out the window, to be honest. By the dick.
If you're gonna throw someone out a window,
That's
you
the
might
best
as
way to
well
do
do
it.
it by their penis.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Humiliate you while you finish.
He also has another line in that scene. It's like, well, isn't that like a high school reunion?
Yeah.
Like they have got high school on Zeist as well. Would they call it Zeist school?
Do you think Zeist is just like they really, really want to be Earth?
Yeah. It's
I
like
like this
Canada
place.
is to the U.S.
That's why he
It's
likes
like
it so much.
Pleasantville. Everything is Pleasantville.
Well, my final note on that scene, though, is we've got another difference between the theatrical and the Renegade cut.
Yeah.
In the Renegade cut, we have the best line in the movie,
Hit it, dude.
Oh yes. That
whereas
was
in the
hilarious.
theatrical cut, we have the clearly 80-yard version,
Hit it, McLeod.
which you can see that he says dude, but the
Interesting.
80-yard says McLeod.
I like Dude way better.
I like dude way better, too.
Same. There's lots
it,
of
dude.
horrible ADR.
It should have been.
A dude
Hit it,
that's been
shithead.
yeah, a dude that's been dead for 500 years definitely knows the word dude.
Yeah. I mean, I like the little things where, like, he doesn't know flight.
Yeah.
Like, wow, fly? That's...
Yeah, airport, flight,
taxi, like...
shithead.
Yeah.
He
But-
probably, he probably
limo,
learned dude.
limo. He didn't
Oh
know
no, he
limo.
learned dude because the guy walked by him. when he
Oh,
walked
yeah,
into-
nice threads,
He
right.
said, "Nice threads, dude."
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's
yes.
right.
But then he
He's-
calls that
okay.
dude a shithead,
Then he calls him shithead. Yeah.
even though he complimented him.
But yeah, him saying "hit it, dude" is like the equivalent of him saying
You're the man now, dog.
You're the man now, dog. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
So that's... Yeah, why isn't the shield taller than the mountains? In the Renegade cut, when they get to those mountains... Do you guys like the hand-drawn danger sign?
Yes.
That's on like the cheapest cardboard,
Oh
the
my goodness.
cheapest plywood. that
Well,
you
I
can
mean,
We're
if
running
they-
out of money.
If they didn't even know that,
Make me a danger sign.
We're here at the end of the movie. It becomes very meta, like Blazing Saddles.
if they didn't have the knowledge that the ozone layer was above where all of the mountains are, I can't really expect much from them in the way of a danger sign.
There's also no security there or at the main location of the shield.
No.
And then my final note that we haven't really covered: there's no women in Zeist or on Zeist.
Not that we see.
Not that we see.
What a peaceful place.
Who needs it?
I'm just kidding.
I was thinking it was more of a
I love
Zardoz
women.
situation where all the women are just like,
inside of plastic
Have
bags.
you seen Zardoz?
I have not. I listened to you guys' episode and I got through the first like 10 minutes while I was trying to avoid doing work, and then I had to start working. So
Yeah,
It's a fun movie.
It's a fun one.
It's a
Yeah.
fun one to watch with friends, as
Yes.
we did.
I'm gonna have to.
Though I will say, funny thing. So I listened to the Fun Bearable podcast with my friend Chuck and Brad.
Of course,
And
boys.
Also on that is a comedian named Ray Harrington, who's incredibly talented. If you like funny stuff, check out their podcast. You may like it.
Yes,
and like
definitely check
right
it out.
around the same time that we did the Zardoz podcast, Ray randomly brought up Zardoz and was like praising it.
Whoa.
And was like a big fan of it.
Whoa.
And I was like, whoa, it's funny to hear someone like this movie, like just like out in the wild, be like, oh, this is a good movie, and like talk about it from like more of a, he's like a film buff kind of guy, so he's into like a lot of like really good like indie filmmaking stuff, and like kind of praise it more from like what this film is should be rewarded kind of standpoint. And
you
I
guys
was like,
continue
it's,
real
it's
quick.
interesting to hear somebody actually be interested in this movie.
That's insane. Yeah, I didn't know.
That's
he would be
awesome.
Into it. Yeah, geez.
Because I hadn't heard anyone talk about it outside of the podcast. Real quick, I've got to take a Connor pee. You guys continue.
Go Connor.
Word. So the music on the outro of the Renegade cut was super badass.
Oh yes, I
was
like that.
I was like, oh man, this is killer.
I did quite enjoy that.
I just flopped this over, like I just did the, and I felt so fucking epic. I did a passive swirl. Wow.
You gotta do it on camera next time.
Yes, I
Yeah.
And I was very disappointed at the end of the theatrical cut when it was not that
Yeah.
tuned.
Yeah.
And I was surprised by how much difference there was in the music between both films. Like, there was a pretty significant amount of difference.
Hey, you wonder, like, them editing that second cut, they're like, let's just get through it quick. You know what I mean? Like, you know, how much effort was really put into that? You know what I mean? With small things like that, with music and others. Because that's why I feel like I'm like you're lacking in certain parts that like I really love from the original.
Yeah.
Small things.
I do wonder, too, like, obviously it says the music is done by Stuart Copeland, but, like, I wonder how much involvement he really had in the music.
Yeah, it didn't seem really indicative of like it didn't seem to represent a lot of his other work, like because he has done a lot of film work like since being in the police. Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, Stuart Copeland branched out way more than what he did with the police. Like his own solo things, like he went and like lived in Africa for a short period and learned like tribal drumming and things like that, and like went on to do like film scores and lots of things like that, which is like I thought very cool because I loved the police, of course, and like as a drummer in high school, like a really cool drummer like Stuart Copeland really caught my attention. So I was very interested when I saw that he did the score for this film. And then as I go through and listen to it, I was like, this has almost no stamps of like his influence on it from what I could tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's one piece of music that I want to say is during the final, in the Renegade cut, during the final fight scene, that it has like a lot of drums. And I was like, okay, like this feels like Stuart Copeland to me. And it specifically, it had like a lot of hand drums and like other stuff that built up a lot. It was really, really well composed. And I don't remember, I want to say it was during that fight scene. But
I think I know the one you're talking towards the end, like the end fight scene, right?
Yeah, towards the end fight scene.
I was just there's just like so much happening at the same time towards the end of that movie. I was like overwhelmed by all of the things going on, like with the fighting specifically, because they're like going from building to building and all of a sudden in different locations, and like you said, with different clothes and things like that. Like it was clearly not meant to be cut together that way.
Yeah, especially the theatrical cut. It's very confusing.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh my goodness.
It was way better coming off.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. You can strip for us at the end of the episode.
I'm so curious to hear all the ratings for this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Should we get into it?
I think we're at that point.
Yeah, let's get into it, man.
Let me fix my.
I gotta get up at 5 a.m. tomorrow. So.
Oh,
wonderful.
No.
I gotta get up early myself.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's my,
I'm not complaining. I'm here.
Is that what you do, or is that?
That's what I do. I wake up at 5 a.m.
Well, then you don't have to do it. It's what you choose to do.
If I want to have any kind of semblance of a productive day, I kind of have to, unfortunately. But
now that I've got my cape back on, we
so
go about.
We finished the discussion of the film. Now we're going to go into the rating section of the film, where we're going to rate the film itself, the man himself, and of course, if the SHs, the sexiness rating, and the musical score.
As we were just talking about.
And, so yeah, it's
and
going to be
real
interesting.
quick, you had mentioned the music in regards to the musical score. The song is "Who's That Man?"
Who's
Part
That Man?
1 by The Magnetic, a.k.a.
There it is. There it is.
And then the
only
other
available on
one,
YouTube. I tried to get it on Spotify. It's out there.
The other one that. So the two songs that play during the credits of both cuts. I believe the theatrical one has Hiren Stevens' song called "Trust."
Okay.
That's playing during the theatrical one, and during the Renegade cut, it's the Lou Gramm Band with "One Dream."
Wow. It disappoints me that we did not hear in this movie, which we heard in the last movie that you gentlemen and I discussed, which there's no Seal.
No
I
Seal.
really wanted to hear Seal as we
Kiss
did in
from a Highlander.
Entrapment. Yeah.
Seal would have been.
Kiss from a Highlander.
Well, if we do the remake,
Was that Eddie
Seal will
Vedder?
be on the
I
record.
don't know what it was. But it was not good, is what it was.
All right, so yeah, as Mario said, that leads us into our ratings. I've got our rating thing here. I'm just.
So are we rating each of the cuts individually, or are we just trying to do like a amalgamation of the?
I think we should just do it. Just
An
call
average?
it as one thing.
Okay.
Maybe we can all like pick one each. Like you're doing theatrical, I'm doing the renegade.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
ratings
But,
would be largely the same, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I'm.
They're about the same
Yeah.
for me too. Like I said, it's little things with the music, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Different.
So other than that, the things I loved about the movie stayed the same in both.
I should put it this way. The things that I liked better about the Renegade version were not like category ratings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't think the sexiness changed or the SH changed.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
true.
You know?
Yeah,
It's really
honestly.
just the music
overall.
and the overall. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think pretty much you can weigh the two. I think the theatrical is a better version. As we discussed,
Yeah.
we each have a preferred version, but I think you can kind of blend
Yeah.
the two together.
Yeah, let's go this way.
Yeah, let's
We'll
start. So we start with the SHs.
All right.
Aaron, go ahead.
I think the SH was quite high in this movie. I would give this one. There were some points where like he almost didn't sound like he was doing the Scottish accent, like mostly in like some of the ADR stuff, like when he was doing the voiceover and talking to him. So I'm just gonna go with a 9 and not a straight out 10 because it wasn't overbearing.
Okay.
Sean?
I think I'm going to match that.
Okay.
I do distinctly remember him SHing something that wasn't an SH.
Shithead?
No, it was like he SH'd something that wasn't an SH, and then he said something that had an SH, and he said it very cleanly, and I was like, oh, this is just a funny microcosm of Sean Connery.
Hit it, shh,
but
dude.
Yeah, I would give it a 9.
I might drop it down a point with 8 because I feel like it's there, but it's not. You know, as you guys know, I watched a lot of Sean Connery.
Yeah, of course. You guys are
you gentlemen are the experts.
More into it than we are.
So it's like, we always talk about, you look at that full chart, you see it gets higher and higher each year. Just in the 90s is very thick and so on and so forth. But yeah, I feel like it's an 8. I feel like it's there, but not very distracting and not as intense. But it's definitely there. So I think a solid 8 for me.
Well, gents, I'm going to match you guys with a 9. I think it is pretty strong, but there was the occasional word that would slip through where I'd be like, that's just a clean S.
Yeah.
So 9
That's how I felt
for
as well.
me as well. We move on to our next rating, the sexy rating.
Sexy.
Aaron?
Sexy.
So there wasn't a whole lot of outward sexiness in this movie, like explicitly. I think there were sexy moments to the movie, but overall, I think it was relatively unsexy compared to a lot of Connery films. He had the moment where he was talking to the woman in the plane, which is like him being a little bit of like a womanizer or sexual kind of guy. And then there was a one scene where McLeod's like, I'm an alien, and she's like, bang me. But I don't think that warrants more than a 4 on the sexiness scale.
All right. 4 for Aaron. Sean?
So movie-wise, in terms of like the setting of the movie, the things that happen in the movie, all of that, it's kind of a gross movie.
Yes.
Everybody's super dirty and gross.
Yes.
You can't even get to the oxygen machine without getting dirty.
Yeah.
Someone put their dick in this oxygen machine.
God damn it.
Jizz all over the fucking seal.
That's the machine next door.
Oh, I think you'll find the costume parade next door.
Cum parade.
I thought Connery looked great.
Me too.
Yeah, he looks great.
There's a point where he like transitions into like not old man Connery, but like distinguished older gentleman Connery, and he's firmly in that time frame in this movie. I feel like
I agree.
He looks, especially in the suit, he looks fantastic.
Yeah.
What's her name? Virginia
Madsen.
Virginia Madsen.
Michael Madsen's sister.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny. They do not look anything alike.
Same kind of face shape.
Okay. I'll have to look at a picture of them next to each other.
Bunchen and Don.
But yeah, she's an absolute fox in this movie.
She's so beautiful.
She's absolutely stunning. Outside of that, there's not really attractive things going on in the movie, in my opinion. I'm going to give this movie a 3, I think. And that is in spite of Connery being pretty good looking.
Mario?
I think I'm matching that as well. 3. It's just like, again, it's a very gross, very dark movie. It's just like you can make it work. You know, every Batman film is super dark. We talked a lot about Batman today in Gotham City, and that works. But it's like
as bright as Batman Returns.
Yeah, it's like I understand. Yeah. It's like that's the whole plot of the movie. It's like we're under this fucking shield that makes it dark all the time. But it's like I don't know, man. It just there's lights inside. The electricity still fucking works. Turn the lights on in your fucking apartment.
Like this movie is a turn off, not a turn on.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, exactly.
They've got to turn off the shield.
Yeah, unplug it.
I mean, just too fucking dark for me, man. Like, but I think Connery saves it a little bit because he looks great. I love the suit. Even his like signature red outfit, he just looks so good in it. You know what I mean? That's like that's an iconic fit for sure. I wish he had the hat. Remember the feather hat in the first one?
Yeah,
the first one.
He looked dope in that. But
he looked so good in that first movie.
Yeah, so 3 for me with the sexy.
3. Guys, I'm gonna go even lower. 2.
Woo!
Yeah, I was.
Connery looks great,
warranted.
and Madsen looks great.
I was bordering on a 2, but
Virginia Madsen and Sean Connery save this film in the looks department.
Very
Christopher
much so.
Lambert is a handsome man, but they do not do him justice for his looks. Like
No.
He's got that serial killer
He's
face thing
like-
going
really
on
does.
in these movies.
When he
man,
comes
where-
out of the flames and is like young again.
He looks good there.
That's the one shot in this movie
was
where
like-
I'm like, ah, he looks good.
yeah.
He kind of looks like David Boreanaz, Angel
Yeah.
Oh.
from
Yes.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, especially with like the baggy kind of
Yeah.
suit he's wearing.
Also, the only sex scene in this movie takes place in an alley.
Yeah, in the street.
In the street.
Why
Like-
don't we do it in the road?
Man, the world's really gone to
From
hell.
ice and shit.
People just fucking in the street.
like
Damn this shield.
Well, not only that, but it happens between a man that used to be geriatric and then just magically became young again, who just walked out of flames and murdered 2 people.
If this
and
was
it
a-
has to just smell fucking
The
horrifically
stench.
bad.
That's what
Like,
my wife always points out of like funny scenes in movies. She's like, it probably smells so bad wherever they are. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
If this was a Roger Moore Bond movie, it would cut to one of the guys using the oxygen machine, and then he'd put it back because he can't believe what he's seeing.
He's staring at it for a second.
All right, so yeah, 2 for me because Connery looks great and Virginia Madsen is stunning.
1
But
point apiece.
that doesn't carry how ugly this film is.
Yeah.
This is such an ugly looking film.
Yeah.
Like, whatever the fuck is going on with Ironside's face.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, he has like some weird like
Like a dent.
birthmark.
weird thing on his head. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
No good.
I hope that's not actually what he looks like. Hold on. I
No, I don't think it is.
No,
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 it's not.
absolutely not.
Okay, cool. Wow, oh my god, look at this picture of me. He looks like Kyle Gass. He looks so happy.
He does look exactly like
He's a
Kyle.
diabetes guy.
From here, he looks like Detective Hank Schrader from
He
Breaking Bad.
does, yeah. All right, so yeah, 2 from me. Our next score is the musical score.
That's a tough one because like there were moments.
And it changes too. Between
Yeah.
the
There
two
were
films.
there was a lot of good. Like if I look at the musical score as a whole, it was just so inconsistent. Like it's really hard to judge. Like I thought it was kind of funny at times where they were like, "It was in my house and I got gambling debts and the song is on the radio because everything sucks." Like, but other than that,
That's
like,
the theme for this episode.
other than that, like I don't know, like it's like we were saying a little while ago. Like I don't think that this score represents the work of Stuart Copeland very well.
No.
I don't think it was a great score altogether. I don't think it was terrible because there were some redeeming moments, but I would have to go, since it was so wildly inconsistent, good and bad, I'm going to have to go right in the middle and say 5.
Okay.
Yeah, I wonder how much of this he even really scored versus just helping select
Compile.
music. Yeah, compiled stuff. Honestly, I didn't really care for almost any of the music in this film, with the exception I can distinctly remember strongly disliking Danny Boy when it occurs when Connery dies, because I was like, "This
It's Amazing Grace.
is it Amazing Grace."
It's Amazing Grace.
All right.
Bagpipe.
Yeah. So, when it comes on, it made no sense to me canonically with the film, and then beyond that, the only other music that stood out to me at all was the last song on the Renegade cut. It just being like, "Oh, this is a cool song," but like, does it fit here? Does it not fit here? I don't know. Like, I don't even know what the fuck this movie is to begin with at this point. I'm going for a 3 again.
Okay.
I think.
Mario?
I think I'll bring it up to about a 6 because there are some tracks here that I enjoyed listening to.
The Queen songs were good. Like some of the
Yeah.
metal songs were good.
And like I said, some of that, like the instrumental I was mentioning earlier, it's like it's
Who's That Man, part 1.
That song is actually very different. The studio version, the version that's in the movies is a little better. But yeah, it's like I feel like, because I always every week I judge by tracks being memorable, and that was a very memorable moment for me. So like I don't think it's bad. I think the other ones, like first movie was way better because of course it's Queen, and it fits so well. And like this movie should be a rock and roll movie.
Yeah.
So
The first one is.
Yeah, so I was like kind of hoping we'd get that again. There were some rock aspects, but like give me like one central artist, and I don't give a fuck if it was Sammy Hagar or like fucking Van Hagar. Give me the Van Halen shit or whatever. Like
I was listening to A Different Kind of Truth this morning.
Oh yeah, it's a good record. But yeah, just that's what it lacked, but I still enjoyed what they gave me, so I'll give it a 6.
6. Okay. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Oh.
Yeah. As we were saying, it's not representative of Stuart Copeland, or at least like what. I mean, obviously, we can't pigeonhole Stuart Copeland and be like he's just the drummer for the Police.
No,
like
he's
he's
done so
a
much more
very
than that.
talented composer, and
This would not be the first film that he would choose to showcase his work.
Yeah.
It doesn't
And-
necessarily add much to the film.
Yeah,
You know?
and the fact that it's different, different musical cues and different songs are used in the different takes, different cuts. Excuse me. It just makes it hard to really nail down, like what even the score is. Like, looking at this.
Is there
link of-
another? Is there anyone else associated with the music? Like if you go on IMDb.
So we'll go to IMDb.
I'm just going with the credits where all it said was music by Stuart Copeland.
Yeah, but that
That's
doesn't necessarily mean anything. That could just
All
mean that
cast and
there's
crew.
one song by Stuart Copeland in the film.
Let's see.
I've seen a lot of films where it's like, oh, the composer, or like, this is the composer of this score, but then there's someone else that works on the film that's actually like also doing like all of the selections of like random like diegetic music that's heard in the film and like other stuff like that. So like Copeland could have written one piece of music or like one larger composition that they chopped up and used at different points in this. But then especially when you hear how much different music is occurring throughout the two films.
Yeah.
Like,
so it looks like there's 1, 2, 3 themes: the bird flight, destroy the shield, sun shield / dam escape that were produced by Stuart Copeland, and then the rest of it are like the Who's That Man song. Robin George does like 3 tracks on it, so there are a lot of people who worked on this.
Yeah, so in the credits, did you see if there was like another like editor or
There wasn't.
Didn't say anything specifically. Interesting.
Not that I saw. But.
Yeah, it doesn't look like going through IMDb. It would just have music by Stuart Copeland. That's it on IMDb.
No other
now,
credits.
Yeah, and on
weird.
the link I had here was the Discogs link. Hareen Stevens, Trust, Lou Graham Band, Magnetic, a.k.a. Glenn Hughes.
Michael Dittrich
is that Glenn
was
Hughes
the music
from,
editor.
Wow, that's Glenn Hughes from Deep Purple.
Oh.
And fronting Black Sabbath in the 80s. There we go.
Wow.
So there's a 14-member crew that worked on the music of this film.
The Seattle Symphony? Is that what you're referring to?
No, I see Michael Dittrich was the music editor. Seth Kaplan was the music supervisor. There's a orchestra recording engineer, executive music producer.
So I'm guessing Copeland just composed that's
what I'm guessing as well
itself.
too. Like it sounds like he wrote, like Aaron was saying, like 3 different pieces of music for the film.
Yeah.
They advertised him as a big name because he's a big name, and that was his amount of contribution to the film. And not for nothing. I mean, how much do you think they gave him to work with here? Like,
yeah, not a whole lot.
Like, I don't think this is the kind of thing where you see Stuart Copeland on the soundstage with with a film playing in the background and they're scoring it live with John Williams,
I do see, though, an entire orchestra recording the themes to this with Stuart Copeland behind his giant, 27-piece drum kit doing all of the drums for all of the songs.
I could see something like that happening, yeah.
So that brings us to the film rating.
Overall film rating.
Yeah. Overall film rating. Aaron, you want to go?
So I'll preface this with, I liked the film. I liked watching it. It sucked. It was not a good film. It's not great, but it was amazing.
That's a tagline.
And it's like I mentioned on the last episode, I don't think movies have to be good for you to like them. So I quite enjoyed it. If I were rating it on how much I laughed, how much I liked it, and did I have a good time watching the film, it would have a considerably higher rating. But on the basis of a film, 2.
All right. Sean?
So I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay.
It's not a good movie across the board. Neither version is good. If I was having a couple of beers, sitting in a room full of my friends, and we were watching it together and laughing, it's something you could enjoy. But it's not a good movie. I don't want to watch it again.
That's usually one of the questions we go to is, are
Yeah.
we watching this again?
Yeah,
I almost feel
I'm
like
not going
if
to
there
watch it
were
again.
only one
There can be
cut
only
of it, if there could only be one, then it might get a higher rating. But I think having watched the 2 cuts, it only makes it worse for me. It only makes it more confusing.
I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to do that.
It's not your fault.
It is what it is.
Blame
Russell
history.
Again, I had fun. I had fun watching it.
No, I mean, I think that it was a really fun exercise to watch the 2 films and to see them be different and to see the different ways that they ruin this franchise. Because I mean, without parsing words, I mean, I think we've all kind of said, like, you had a pretty solid foundation from the first film to try and do something with, whether you love the first film or not. Like, there's a lot of really, really great and interesting stuff there, and they fumbled the ball here pretty much immediately in both versions of the film, in my opinion. Like, it's just right
Agreed.
from the get-go on both versions of the film, there's things that are just like, what the fuck is going on? So, I'll give it a 3. Not going to watch it again. If I were to watch it again, I'll definitely be hanging out with a room full of buddies and laughing at it in person together. That's the only way I'm going to get through it. So,
Mario?
1.
Wow.
This movie's fucking garbage. Both of them are garbage. I just can't. Like, sure, Sean Connery might save the movie, but that shouldn't be the fucking case. It should be, McLeod should be like a cool character.
Yeah.
And that should be your fucking, like you don't want the James Bond movie for fucking Quirrell. Or whatever, or fucking
Professor Quirrell.
Professor Quirrell.
James Bond's got to fight Voldemort.
Yeah. But,
I personally only watch Bond movies for Q.
Yeah.
To be
Right?
honest.
Yeah.
That's it. Q saved the movie for me.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's
this movie was garbage.
It's fucking terrible. It's just like I don't want to watch it again. I've watched it enough for a fucking lifetime. I had to watch it fucking twice. I had to go through it 2 times.
We don't have any more movies that's the case.
Thank fucking God. Because I'd rather watch fucking Madam Web twice.
Oh, no.
I'd rather watch Joker Folie à Deux twice. You know, it's just like, this is just, it's like a lot of work. Because it's fine to be, like, there's like The Room. That's bad, but like it's a cult classic. And then like me, I'm very attached to the Mike Myers Cat in the Hat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because they're
I loved that movie, genuinely, not being sarcastic.
me too. I fucking love that movie, but like on paper, this is a bad movie.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like we were talking about before. Like, is this a B movie or not?
Sort of Valiant.
And like the distinct difference between a B movie and this movie is that the intention when you're making a B movie is to make a B movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like this is not that.
Yeah.
So like it's only funny at a couple of moments because of how bad it is.
And mostly unintentionally.
It's like funny at its own expense.
There are a few funny things that are intentional, but like there not enough of them.
And if you have the opportunity with the Renegade cut to like, to save your ass, and he didn't make it better. Like, come on. Like, Justice League I talked about earlier, that was a perfect example. If you took the Joss Whedon version that people did not like because it was too colorful and he was, Mr. Avengers, so we thought, let's let him do it. That's not what that movie needed. It needed Zack Snyder, the original guy. Obviously, there was shit behind the scenes that he couldn't control with family. But when he finally came out with his cut, it was so much better. I'm like, oh my God, this movie makes more sense. This is why I envisioned when I first, because I'm one of those guys, I defend those movies. But like, it was so much better. You had this opportunity here to do that, and you threw it in the dumpster twice. Like, what the fuck's the fucking point, man? And like, you made it a little bit longer and 10% worse. So I got to give it a 1, man. It's just like there's nothing I never want to see it again. If I see it on TV, I'm fucking unplug my TV and throw it out the window. I don't want to see it anymore, man.
Apparently, it does play on TNT from time to time.
Wow.
Make sure when you throw your TV out the window that you grab it by the cock and balls.
Which every TV has, of course.
Which version they shoot a theatrical version on TNT?
I think they have.
They should do a double feature where you do both at the same time.
I think there's a unique, different ending to the TNT version.
Really?
Yes.
Great. I'm not watching it.
Just watch the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. I'll just fast forward and watch it there. But yeah, that's my case.
Well, I'm gonna give it a 2. I'm on your case, on your side, Aaron, with the two. There's redeeming factors here for sure. As awful as they are, the porcupine guys are funny.
They're hilarious.
They're
Bulk and Skull, but from the planet Zeist.
Bulk and Skull?
Power Rangers.
Oh, yes. Tell me you don't want to fly around on his hoverboard thing.
Yes.
Those little wings.
Yeah,
there are cool ideas that are executed
decapitation.
very, very poorly.
Yes.
There's about 20 minutes of really good film in this movie,
And most of it involves Sean Connery.
Yes.
Yeah, like I said before, someone had some good ideas for some funny stuff. Someone had some good ideas for some action stuff. And they had no idea of how to write any sort of plot to connect any of those things together.
Yeah.
And this is what we got.
Yeah.
I will revisit this to watch the Sean Connery scenes and to edit this podcast. And that's it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be watching these again. I will 1,000% be watching the first one again.
Sure,
I need to revisit that one. So,
now that you have seen this one again, or now that you have seen this one, I wonder if it will change your opinion of the
I'll probably
first
like
one.
the first one even more.
So I think I may have a more negative view of the first film because I watched all three of them kind of back to back.
It kind of ruins the first one.
Yeah, it kind of ruins the
the
first
same
film.
thing. I
for me
totally
a little
agree.
bit. Because the other thing is that stylistically, from a filming and editing standpoint, they are somewhat similar in nature. And I think just having this piece of hot garbage tried to be handed to you in a very similar style detracts from the first film a little bit. But yeah, I'm curious. You'll have to let me know in the future if you watch it again, if you're like, oh no, they ruined it. They broke it. They took my toy and they broke it.
I hope not. I really liked that first one. All right. So yeah, 2 for me, which brings us to our final rating, the most important rating of the night. The Sean Connery
This
rating.
might go on the total other end of the spectrum if we're all on the same
Big
page.
fan of Connery in this movie.
I think real quick though, I think Sean should rate Sean first.
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, okay. I'm going to give him 8.5.
Ooh.
He's great in this movie. He's really good. Every moment that he is on screen, he's running laps around everybody else in terms of just class, performance. He saves every scene that he's in. He saves because they're not very good. You look forward to him coming back on the screen every single time he steps off of it. I can't say much more about him than that. The only reason I can't give him higher than this is because the movie's just garbage. So I mean, and I do think while it's a big payday for him, and he probably hated doing it, he's not completely mailing it in.
Yeah, he's not going to do a bad job.
It doesn't feel like that to me anyway. I mean, you guys have seen him a lot more than we have.
He's done bad jobs in movies before.
Yeah, this to me doesn't feel like he's doing a terrible job. It feels like he's at least giving it some level of effort, and he does a very good job. He plays a very convincing version of the character. So,
agree.
Aaron?
I'm going to give Sean an 8 in this movie.
All right.
I think his performance was excellent. It was probably the only redeeming quality of the movie.
Okay.
But yeah, I think Sean is really what the movie should have been focused on, is his character. And I think his performance was by far and away the best of the movie. And even though he kind of had to deal with what was given to him as far as the dialogue and the character itself, I think he's exactly what you want from Sean Connery, at least when I watched the film. So I'm going to give him an 8. I could give him a 10 if the movie had about 30 more minutes of Sean Connery. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mario?
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick with 8.5 as well. Yeah, again, kind of touch on what Sean said. He was there for 9 days, $3 million, and he still showed up and, kept it going. And, I think it's something to tell about the man he was, just he's still going to show up. I'm still going to fucking be fucking Sean Connery. I didn't feel like he phoned it in too much. It's he's still being that character. and he could have totally just fucking showed up and just fucking lollygagged and fucking said whatever, and just had a miserable time on screen. But he still showed up, said fuck it, I'm getting paid, and he's professional. He's a pro. So I think 8.5 is solid. He would get a 9, but again, it's a garbage fucking movie.
I'm gonna meet you at the 8.5.
Very good.
He definitely lifts up every scene that he's in, and yeah, like you've all established, it would be a 9 or a 10 if it was Highlander 1.
Yep.
But which actually, hold on real quick, I did.
Highlander 1
in
to
Highlander
me also
1,
could have used an extra 20 minutes of Sean Connery time.
Yeah,
I
sure.
agree. We both gave him 9.5 in Highlander 1.
Yeah, we like him in that.
He's really good in that one too.
Extremely.
So
His entire appearance felt like one long montage, but I
Yeah.
wanted the whole movie to be about
One
Sean
long
Connery.
montage?
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course.
I wish this would have a plot.
I would watch 3 hours.
Just him and McLeod running on the beach for 45 minutes.
I would watch a 3-hour
Yelling about the
montage of
quickening.
him coming to speed with what the modern times are like. I would watch that.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Disappointing.
Yeah.
Disappointing. Well, I mean,
Missed
I shouldn't say
opportunity.
disappointing because for weeks Dylan and I have been talking about how awful this movie was going to be, and I do actually have to say, the
Not
movie
bad.
was not as awful as I thought it was
Same.
going to be.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It delivered.
Upon like we said in the last in the podcast you were referring to, like the Avengers one. Excuse me. Highlander 2 is listed as one of the worst movies of all time.
This is not one of the worst movies of
all.
all time.
Not at all.
It's disappointing in the context of
If you're a
you
Highlander
could have a
fan.
yeah, like
Yeah.
if you could.
Oh my god.
But I mean, how many big time Highlander fans are there out there? I mean, it can't be like
Like I said,
we're not talking
apparently.
about Star Wars or Marvel or
And this was
some
also
giant franchise.
This was
here,
also
you know?
being said in '91, where the media is not being shoved down your throat as much. You don't have the
Yeah,
internet. You're
that's
not
true.
constantly exposed to everything. And so you remember, hey, 5 years ago I liked that Highlander movie, and then you go see it, and it's this,
It is
and you're
this,
like,
yeah.
this is awful. This is one of the worst movies ever made. It's
Yeah.
like, might just be one of the worst movies you've ever seen.
Yeah.
But
Personally, I'm just hoping for those 2 Porcupine guys to be at Comic-Con so I can go
me
and see
too.
that.
that would be
I'm
should be
amazed
only
that
if
I've
they do.
never seen them.
only if they only do the laugh the entire time.
McLeod, you're gonna die.
All right, well, let's go over our ratings here. Our average SH is an 8.75. It was pretty thick. Our average sexy rating is a 3. Not very sexy. Our average musical score is a 4.5. Doesn't really represent Stuart Copeland very well. Our average film rating is a 2. None of us are coming back to this thing. Our average Sean rating is an 8.38. We all agree that he pretty much carries the film. And the total Sean rating is a 53.25.
Ooh, gracious.
So, it's actually not that bad. All
Could've
things
been worse.
considered.
Above 50%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could be worse.
All
What-
things considered, not terrible.
Out of curiosity, like I know, like there's going to be a couple that are really low, right?
Yeah, you want me to do a sort right now?
Yeah, just out of curiosity.
Okay.
Like it, I would imagine this is bottom half, but
Data sort range.
Yeah, I think it's
by-
been lower though. I'm trying to think.
5 Days One Summer is going to be
Oh yeah, that
the
one.
bottom, right?
Oh no, what's
But see,
the,
that had redeeming qualities.
was an early one that he did.
Okay, you know what? You're all right. 5 Days, One Summer is our second lowest at 42. Our lowest is Tarzan's Greatest Adventure at 24.5.
Lower,
Jesus.
lower than what do you call it?
Tiger?
Action of the Tiger?
Action Tiger. Yeah.
45.5.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Adventure Story 5150, the Van Halen album. The Offense 5150, that was brought down by its sexy rating. And right now our highest films are Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and Highlander.
Interesting.
That's crazy.
So
Even over Murder on the Orient Express.
Murder on the Orient Express has an 83. Highlander has a 91.5.
Wow.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade is a 92.6.
Wow.
We're slowly like starting to record commentaries for some of the movies. So like, I think Highlander one might be a good commentary too, because we kind of like to go back and like let's redo the rating a little bit, see how we still feel
Yeah.
about it.
Maybe you can do that.
Imagine
as your-
doing the doing the Highlander commentary, knowing what we know about 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe that could be like your next chapter for your podcast once you run out of Connery films. Maybe just start doing commentaries on the ones that you like.
For sure.
Yeah,
podcast
probably.
episodes.
Yeah.
And we've done bonus episodes too.
Yeah, we have a couple out so
And
far.
Once
so.
we're done watching all these, we're doing a ranking episode.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, you have to.
Of
Yeah,
course.
where do we go from there?
And it will differ from the total Sean ranking too, because it's based on our preference rather than.
Yeah.
Like I love Last Crusade, but I think I might like Murder on the Orient Express as a film more.
Yeah.
Like
I see.
There's this is the best, and this is what I like the most.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up our ratings. I wanted to cover a few things before we get into the final bits of it.
Do it.
Mario, I apologize I had not discussed this with you previously.
Uh-oh.
But I think this might be our last episode for a little bit, just a short amount of time.
Okay.
Given some stuff I'm working on combined with the stress of the election, I kind of just want to not have to focus.
How dare you take something I love from me, Dylan? How dare you?
Well, I want to bring it back by December. So maybe just take the month of November off.
Okay.
And everyone can get over the stress of the election, whatever that's going to bring, the stress of Thanksgiving with your family, all that stuff. And then we'll come back for December. Does that sound okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Why not?
All right. I just want to make sure that was cool with you. We don't have to do
Sean
it.
Connery
You have
will
my
still be
stamp
dead.
of approval, Dylan.
And my axe.
And my axe.
He wanted us to be on camera so I didn't fucking like Homer Simpson like strangling him.
Well, only a month.
great.
Only a month. That's just 2 episodes.
Enjoy your turkeys and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
And whatever, we'll be back with whatever we end up spinning.
Yeah.
Before we do that, we've got a Patreon page
Yes.
that can keep you guys entertained in the meantime. We've got bonus episodes on there, some commentaries, as you said. We'll probably get the Wrong is Right commentary up there.
Yep.
Fun stuff. I hope you don't mind me wanting to take a short break.
Yeah, it's fine.
And we'll come back refreshed and.
Sure.
And as I did say about our Patreon, check out our patreon.com/Connery Curious or however it is you get there. Go to Patreon, search Connery Curious. We've got bonus episodes and as I said, commentaries and video game Let's Plays and some good fun shit. You guys want to promote anything?
Playing a band called No Plateau.
Yes, we do.
You can find our music
On
the
Spotify.
internet. And I play in another band called Nobody's Boy Scout. You can check that out, and I may at some point finally release a bunch of music I've been writing for a while.
Hell yeah, some good stuff.
That I need to just bite the bullet and put out there because it's all done, and I'm just lazy.
Of the stuff that you showed me, there's some genuinely incredible stuff.
And
the world deserves to hear it.
Gotta do it.
Yes, you do have to, because I want to hear it too.
How about
I also play in a band called No Plateau with Sean.
Same band?
Same band.
Different band.
Yep.
No
No relation.
No plateau and no relation.
Please check out the ADHD Project on most social medias. We help people with ADHD say fuck the plan and live a life that you want to live that makes you happy, not because you think that's what you should do. And that's it.
And Mario and I will be on an episode of that soon.
Yes, you will. We're going to have a fun crossover episode, and there'll be a game show involved and all
spent
sorts
some
of
time
goodies.
coming up with questions already.
That's phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah,
We're going to
it's
have...
gonna be fun.
Are you going to
basically
make them watch a Connery movie?
No, we're going to have a Connery-themed game show because Cass has seen very few Connery movies.
Oh, nice.
And we're going to have Mario and Dylan make us do some
Well,
guessing.
she made us laugh in the
Wonderful.
group chat because she said the only one I've seen was Indiana Jones in the refrigerator. I'm like, Connery's not in that one.
No, he's not. which is hilarious.
He is technically as a framed photo.
Yes, that was my response. He shows up in that as a framed photo.
He is.
You bring that up. I'm just going to give a preview of that episode to come because I did a bunch of questions. So let me hit you with a question.
I added some of
You
mine
did?
in there,
Oh,
too.
awesome.
Great.
Awesome. I came up with 15 last night. So let's pull out a random one and see what we can do. The Daily Show host rescues Agent Scully from a falling bookshelf while Connery deals with cancer. Is it A, Medicine Man, B, Playing by Heart, C, Memories of Me, D, The Name of the Rose, or E, Not a Real Movie?
Ooh.
I'll read the description one more time. The Daily Show host rescues Agent Scully from a falling bookshelf while Connery deals with cancer.
I know the answer.
I
Pretty sure.
actually have no idea. I have no
It's
idea.
B, right? Playing by heart.
You are correct.
Yeah.
Wow, very good. Very good, Sean. That's good trivia.
I've done my homework. I've listened to the podcast.
Let's go. It's a very good movie, too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Well, if you listen to the podcast, you know at the end of the show, we go over to wheelofnames.com to spin the wheel of curiosities. And I guess we're going to do like a double click with you guys.
Well, I think it's Aaron spun it last week, so
Well, let Sean do it.
turn this time. So let me just pull it up here. Oh, and I gotta hold on.
Look how small it is now.
Oh my goodness!
Got almost nothing left.
I remember when we started.
How many films are left?
12? No, we're in single digits
Let
right
me
now,
full
right?
screen it.
1, 2.
Yeah, it looks close to single digits if it's not.
Can anyone read that? 9? 1, 2, 3,
9.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep.
Holy
my
shit!
9
goodness.
left, which means 10 movies because we still got Sir Billy.
Yeah.
So you know what? This is actually a decent place to call a break because we got 10 movies left.
The final
nice,
10.
Nice
The
round
final
number.
10.
So so we've got that's what we got left. Let's put them in alphabetical order here. What do you want? What don't you want? I really want Time Bandits. Bring us Time Bandits.
Yeah, I'm curious about Time Bandits. I keep seeing it it's on Prime, I believe, right now. So as long as I can get it for free, I can watch it. But other than that, I'm like, I'm also interested to see Marnie.
Yeah, same. Given it's a Hitchcock, it's spooky season.
Yeah. So maybe, I think I'm going to lean towards Marnie.
Okay. Guys, anything you want to see?
I would love to see Time Bandits too, honestly.
The Quickening?
Bandits 2, Electric Boogaloo with a Quickening.
All right, Time Bandits. I've heard a lot of good things about.
Same.
When I originally was like, I'm going to come back for a second episode, that was the one that I originally was like, I should do Time Bandits. But then I have a tendency to pick terrible movies to discuss because it's fun.
Fingers crossed, we do have a guest for Time Bandits.
Yes.
And it's going to be a good time.
That'd be a good one.
Bandits.
Hell Drivers sounds very intriguing.
Ooh, yeah, we got Chris coming back for Hell Drivers.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
At British Bond Addict.
Oh, nice.
The man.
Yeah.
The man.
Yeah, I don't have any idea what that's about, but title-wise, it just sounds like an interesting movie.
Yeah,
so.
I think it's like road gangs.
Cool.
Yeah.
Mad
it's
Max?
one of Connery's earliest films, and it's a 50s
interesting.
film.
Yeah, greasery kind of.
So what we do is we spin, we shuffle, and Mario, you tell me when to stop shuffling. Oh, that's sorting. You tell me when to stop shuffling.
Stop.
Okay. Now, Sean, I'm going to give this to you.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
I used the magic mouse in
You
my
know,
day.
you know the deal with this. You've done this before.
Yes.
You've done this before as well.
Yeah.
Let's all do the chant because
All right.
Sean Murphy is about to spin the
Wheel of Alrighty.
Presidio.
Presidio. We're closing. I think that's the
The
closing out of the
Presidio.
80s, I think.
Yeah, this is the one movie we got a tease of in Memories of Me because he
yeah.
was shooting Presidio during that movie, and he appears as himself.
On a studio lot.
So he actually was in the middle of filming Presidio, and he did a quick
Interesting.
cameo as himself. He's in there for like not even
17 seconds, I
yeah,
think.
like 17 seconds.
13 or 17 seconds,
So,
something like
so
that.
we got
Very
so we got a little
interesting.
tease. So we're excited to see Presidio
nice.
military Connery. I think
Which
it's
is,
gonna be really
it's
cool.
funny, we realized the other week, talking about the Anderson tapes, Alan King is like, oh, this is Sean Connery, I know him so well. It's like, oh, they had actually acted in something before.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So there it is.
yeah,
So,
the Presidio. So we've got Meg Ryan, Mark Harmon. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
All right. So Sean Connery will return in the Presidio. Again, we thank our good pals here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for
joining
having
us.
us. Yeah,
Man, it was a
absolutely.
blast. I'm glad we got to do this with
Me
both
too.
of them.
Me
It
too.
was like that's kind of fun. 'Cause as soon as he said, "I want to do it," I'm like, "We gotta get Sean into it." And like, and it's your first time at the studio, like recording.
Yeah,
something.
recording. Yeah.
So this was awesome.
You were at the
So,
open house.
Thankfully,
which
on
we
your
really
podcast, there can be more than one.
Yes, there
Yes,
can be.
yes. We can
Turns
do it.
out that there can be more than one set of podcast
There
hosts.
can be plenty. But until then, guys, we will be back very soon with more Connery Curious. I've been Mario Lima.
I've been Dylan Titus.
I've been Sean Murphy.
I've been Aaron Frank.
And as always, folks,
We say it together.
Stay curious.
Connery Curious.
You've been listening to Connery Curious, a Titus Compositions and Friggin' Nerds Media podcast. Follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Connery Curious for updates, memes, and episode clips. You can also visit Dylan on Instagram at Titus Compositions to hear other podcasts and original music, watch music videos, or even pick up a great vinyl record. For more discussion about your favorite films, comics, and games, and a network for all things nerdy, visit me, Mario, at Friggin' Nerds Media. You can rate, review, and share the podcast in-app, which helps us grow the show and reach other curious Connerys out there. Thanks for spending time with us. Have a great day, and remember, stay curious.
In my house and I got gambler debts and the song is on the radio 'cause everything sucks.